Chapter 44. Special Gift. Chapter 44. Special Gift Engulfing Devil Skill. Heard this, Chen Xiang suddenly got shocked. He stood there in daze like a statue. Sirs-by were looking at him with a strange look in their eyes. Do not be surprised, if not for this, my devil will not be called devil skill. Engulfing devil skill has 3 rules. First, never engulf anyone with huge difference between his and your power level. Second, never engulf a good person, otherwise you will feel guilty and will have evil thoughts, at last will lead you to turn into a devil. Third, never allow anyone to know you have this devil skill, otherwise you will be besieged by the right way martial artist. Listening to Bai Yuyu ice-cold voice, Chen Xiang complexion turned more and more solemn. This devil skill is indeed formidable, you can seize others' power level, but he also knew that if he frequently used this devil skill it will have a big effect on his cultivation. After you cast this once you have to make sure you have refined all of their engulfed true qi, furthermore you have to make sure that the entire true qi is pure as much as possible, otherwise you will never be able to engulf a second time. Bai Yuyu voice was cold as well as serious. Chen Xiang took a deep breath. To cast this devil skill, he have to prepare his heart. I will now pass it on to you. Casting this devil skill you have to be careful that there must be no other person present, and as you engulf other person he will definitely die. While Bai Yuyu spoke, she also transferred some information in his mind using her divine sense. This information was the casting method of engulfing devil skill. It is possible to engulf other power with this skill, although this exercise is malicious, but on the other hand it is also very profound, so Chen Xiang was very eager to understand this profound engulfing devil skill. He wants to see through every ins and outs of this skill. Do not presume to see through this devil skill, not to mention you, even I do not have the ability. This devil skill creator was one peerless genius. Every exercise he ever created was great as well as frightening. Admiration could clearly be felt in Bai Yuyu's voice. Chen Xiang also started to admire this man. After getting the devil skill, Chen Xiang starts walking toward the Black Wind Gang location. Black Wind Gang is one of the underworld gang in King City. Although on surface it is clean, but they have been secretly responsible for a lot of shady things going on inside King City. They had even set up a headquarters in King City. From this Chen Xiang determined Black Wind Gang certainly have a patron inside King City, and he suspected this patron is none other than Yao family. Since the disappearance of Yao Tianhua and that Yao family elder, most of the underworld gangs were destroyed, but Black Wind Gang was still there. From this anyone can easily determine there must be a reason. Black Wind Gang tried to assassinate him. Chen Xiang certainly will not let go of them. Chen Xiang saw a big mansion in some distance, while loud sounds were bursting out from the inside and he could even hear it at that distance. After some time Chen Xiang finally remembered that a few days ago Black Wind Gang started preparing for their leader's 70th birthday, and this birthday feast is now being held. Chen Xiang's mouth slightly rose, revealing a cold smile. Black Wind Gang sent people to kill him, and they have certainly acquired lot of benefits, but moreover they think they have succeeded. Although there is a rule that an body can fight inside King City, but for personal matter it was still possible to fight, not to mention they tried to assassinate Chen Xiang. At this time Black Wind Gang's mansion front door suddenly opened up, and dozens of guard came from inside. When they saw Chen Xiang's attire was neither magnificent nor luxurious, they hastily put away their drink and asked, "Who are you?" Chen Xiang glanced at them like they were nothing, with a look of disdain said, "Chen Xiang of Dan King Hall." Those dozen or so guards suddenly got surprised for a moment. They have already heard of Chen Xiang but have never seen him. They have not expected for Chen Xiang to come here, but today is their leader's birthday. Furthermore Black Wind Gang and Yao family are very close, and now that he had appeared here, they can easily guess his purpose. "What are you doing here? Our chief never invited you," one of the guards said. His tone was neither tough nor harsh. He didn't dare to, after all Chen Xiang is but 1/7 realm of mortal martial realm martial artists, even more so he is one of the youngest alchemist. His status cannot be compared with Chen Xiang. One of the guard ran quickly to inform, these guards are not able to handle this kind of matter, and Chen Xiang was being sly and difficult. He was simply standing in front of the entrance. Not too long after, the noises from inside died down. From his divine sense he gathered many with strength from 5th to 7th level of mortal martial realm people were coming towards him. Chen Xiang was secretly astonished. He did not think that this Black Wind Gang leader had contacts with people with that level of strength. Unexpectedly he also knew that person very well. Chen Xiang both hands were behind his back, standing very relaxed in front of the entrance, with a steady gaze watching those congregation of people wearing luxurious gown coming towards him from inside. These people mostly have middle-aged appearance. Chen Xiang although have been staying in King City for quite some time, but he had no contact with other martial arts family, but he can still guess that these people should have relatively good reputation and position in those martial arts family, even some of them would be patriarch of their family. Everyone were watching the proud and clank teenager. Seeing that calm look on his face, they could not help but secretly praise him inside their hearts. For them it was unbelievable that Chen Xiang is only 16-year-old and their family's teenaged boys and girls are not even his match. Chen family young master, today is my birthday. If it is not a sudden matter, I want to enjoy my birthday. If possible, can we discuss it another day? Black Wind Gang's leader is one vigorous and healthy elder. The black leather cloak he was wearing gave him a more prestigious look, but when he saw Chen Xiang, a hint of shock flashed through his pair of eagle-like eyes. Chen Xiang also caught on that shocked expression in his eyes. While thinking about it he smiled, with clear and resonant voice said, "Chief He, I came here to tell you one thing. Today as I was coming from outside, I encountered some people posing as Black Wind Gang members and I killed them." Black Wind Gang's leader pupil immediately fiercely contracted. He asked, "How do you know they were not Black Wind Gang members?" Chen Xiang slightly raised his lips, smiled and said, "Although they had 300 people, but they still were killed by me. I think Black Wind Gang is not so weak." As early as today, Black Wind Gang leader received an information, a fire broke out inside the forest, and they had not heard from those 300 people they have sent. And now seeing Chen Xiang is back safe and unharmed, Chief He's heart sank low with disappointment. After Black Wind Gang's leader heard Chen Xiang's words, his facial muscle started twitching, because all those 300 people were very important to Black Wind Gang, but he cannot even acknowledge that they were his Black Wind Gang members. Several of people standing behind Black Wind Gang's leader faces were full of surprise. Chen Xiang guessed that they must have known Black Wind Gang sent someone to kill him, so these people must be from Yao family. "I said it right, Chief He? Some forces were pretending to be your gang members. They must have wanted to tarnish your reputation." Chen Xiang smiled and said, "I wanted to give you this information myself. Consider it as your birthday present from me." Black Wind Gang's leader's eyes H.I. plus varied. His eyes were filled with both anger and sorrow, because those 300 people were led by his son, and his son had said that he and the other wanted to give him Chen Xiang's head as birthday present, but he has not thought that they all would be killed by Chen Xiang. "Chen Xiang," Black Wind Gang's leader suddenly yelled. Chen Xiang halted his steps after he heard the shout. Chen Xiang twisted his head, while looking indifferent and a smile on his face, he asked, "Chief He, what's the matter?" Black Wind Gang's leader's sound was trembling. He reluctantly squeezed out 2 words from his mouth. "Many thanks. No problem." Chen Xiang slightly smiled and then strode away. Chapter 45. Opening soon. Chapter 45. Opening soon. Only 2 days are left until King City Martial Tournament starts, but still there is no information about Yao family genius Yao Tianhua. Due to this whole Yao family were anxiously jumping around. Yao Tianhua is but one rare good seedling that was born in Yao family, although he was somewhat arrogant, but Yao family thought it is natural, but now whether he is alive or death is still unknown. and they don't have any information. Chen Xiang returned from Black Wind Gang Mansion, but he did not see his father in Dan King Hall. "Granduncle, where is my father?" Chen Xiang quickly asks Chen Luzhong. "He is now all right, you don't need to worry about him, and he has now returned to Chen family. He is preparing to convene each branch family against Chen Furong." Chen Luzhong spoke while laughing. "Your father is not someone who will lay down his arms easily." Chen Furong destroyed the Chen family rules and regulations. Not only that he injured Patriarch, but he also tried to meddle in Chen family affairs. Furthermore, he is also helping Chen family enemies. Due to this, Chen Furong must be expelled from Chen family. Chen Furong, just for his selfish reasons, is helping out Yao family to deal with Chen family. Entire Chen family members are furious due to this, and now Chen Tianhu is treating Chen Furong as number one enemy of Chen family. Only after getting rid of this problem Chen Furong will make Chen family unite together and become formidable. Chen Xiang complexion turned solemn. He asked, "Granduncle, Chen Furong is one of those martial arts sect's disciple. Is our Chen family prepared to make enemies with that martial arts sect?" Chen Luzhong shook his head and said, "Rest assured, inside those martial arts sect there are rules. If the disciples stir up some trouble and they die due to it, then it's body's fault, but the disciples dignified great sect's disciple. Actually they are just lower characters who are sent here to manage these things. If killed here they couldn't care less. If those martial arts sects did not have rules to restrain their disciples, then one martial arts expert can casually dominate the secular world, and then it would be a total chaos. Chen Xiang now have lot of confidence. If that's the case, he will not have any other concerns. Granduncle, Dan King Hall will finally be open for business tomorrow. Tell Meng Lao to be ready completely. While you're at it, simultaneously announce it to whole Southern Martial Empire." Chen Xiang said loudly in an excited voice. Dan King Hall already have lot of pills in reserves. Moreover, they can restrict their sales anytime they want. Furthermore, there are many alchemists inside Dan King Hall who are continuously refining pills, and also Meng Bo is here. So Chen Xiang is pretty much assured. Chen Luzhong is also very excited. His old face is full of joy. He already had ambitions to make his mark in King City, but as he did not have enough manpower, he can only stay in Wohu City. To open a pill shop in King City, you need to have a backing of someone with very strong heritage and strength. Information spread quickly like a fire. Long before the information spread, everyone were very much concerned about Dan King Hall. They already knew it is managed by Chen family, and Chen and Yao family are hostile to each other, so both will try to seize the market and will compete with their prices, and as a result they will be able to buy pills cheaply, which for those martial artists who are not very wealthy is but one good thing. Yao family for many years have been selling pills alone in King City. Danxiang Herbal Manor mainly sells spirit herbs, so everyone have no alternative but to buy high-priced pills from Yao family, but not for long, and this will allow them to save them a lot of money. At night, Chen Xiang took a bath and put on luxurious clothes, while walking towards Danxiang Herbal Manor. When he thinks about that charming manor lord, Chen Xiang's could not help but got excited a little. After notifying his arrival, Chen Xiang once again came inside the small hall filled with Hua Yueyun aroma. To his surprise, Hua Yueyun was already here waiting for him. When Chen Xiang saw her enchanting figure, he could not help but stand in daze with amazement. Hua Yueyun was wearing a dress shed from purple chiffon, but she was not wearing any undergarments, the dress outlining her jade-like body features, her clear and well-rounded bosom, slim waist, slender legs, her every move capable of seizing and moving any man's mind, obsequious in myriads ways. Others are not even able to extricate themselves. Chen Xiang even had trouble breathing. He blushed red up to his ears. His heart crazily starts pounding. "Chen young master, is little miss pretty?" Hua Yueyun with a cheeky laugh asked in a charming voice, her jade-like foot treading lightly on the soft rug as she walks towards Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang fiercely swallowed his saliva, then sat. He immediately poured himself a cup of tea, and drank it all one breath, dispersing away the heat arose in his body a moment ago, and he did not dare to look at that attractive Hua Yueyun again. Chen young master's control over his mind is very impressive. This little miss is full of admiration. If possible, little miss is willing to attend Chen young master for lifetime. I want to become Chen young master maidservant. Hua Yueyun faintly said, looking completely sincere, as if she was not capable of telling any lies. She came up with one snow-white color dress to wear, which entirely covered her enticing jade-like perfect body. She clearly knew in front of Chen Xiang she will just bring disgrace on herself. She was almost bare naked standing front of one man, and only able to tempt him slightly. Then he even did not take a look at her, which was a big blow to Hua Yueyun. Yueyun, elder sister, please let off this little brother. Do not joke with this little brother. You are so beautiful and strong, so why bother this little brother? Chen Xiang smiled, because these days Danxiang Herbal Manor have been selling herbs cheaply to Dan King Hall, so he was very grateful. He did not know that this Danxiang Herbal Manor lord had this kind of hobby, and actually liked to lure young innocent boys. Hua Yueyun slightly pouted after a light hump said, Chen young master, I really want to be your maidservant. I have long been attracted by your charm and cannot get away with it. What charm? Chen Xiang do not believe any of the things what Hua Yueyun previously said. He knew this is Hua Yueyun's goal. It has nothing to do with his charm, but she simply fancies his alchemy talent, and wants him to enroll in Danxiang Taoyuan, that alchemy-based sect. Chen Xiang with a hollow laugh said, Manor Lord Hua, I have a fiancée, and if I accept you as my maidservant, that little girl will surely be jealous. I know you are looking down on me. Hua Yueyun had a self-deprecating smile on her face. What did you come here for? Chen Xiang took out a small piece of H.E.L. Spirit GRAS and handed it to Hua Yueyun, and seriously spoke. Yueyun, this is my thank you for providing your help to Dan King Hall, and I hope to continue this relations. Hi+P in the future. I also want you to raise the price a little higher when you sell your herbs to Yao family. Hua Yueyun unceremoniously took that thumb-size H.E.L. Spirit GRAS, albeit only a little, but it was very precious. With a big smile on her face said, Chen young master is really generous. This little miss will certainly do whatever you order. If this Danxiang Herbal Manor would have been mine, I would have given you all the spirit herbs for free. Chen Xiang was startled for a moment, looking at that stunning Yaoxing face. He secretly thought of taking her as his maidservant, but he was worried that this woman has some ulterior motive. Dan King Hall will open tomorrow, and all of it is managed by my granduncle. I want to start my preparation for King City Martial Arts Tournament, so I will not be present. If it is convenient to you, can you come to Dan King Hall and advertise about us? Chen Xiang laughed. No problem, will do. Hua Yueyun this time was like a maidservant. Chen Xiang wasn't able to stand it anymore. He and Hua Yueyun talked about several nonsensical stuff, and then he quickly departed. Watching Chen Xiang fleeing like tail between his legs, Hua Yueyun's pretty eyes lit up, tenderly spat and said, Really is a tough brat, even able to defend against my killer move. The more he wants to run, the more I want to get him. Chen Xiang as always came outside to practice. His goal is to make Qin family reside in this king city, and become one potentially strong martial arts aristocratic family. Only after this will he be relieved and go to those big sects. As for Dan King Hall, he doesn't care much about it, because it is personally taken care by Dan King Meng Bo and Chen Luzhong. Furthermore, it is tacitly supported by Hua Yueyun, so he is simply focusing on elevating his strength. Chapter 46. New Enemies and Old Debts. Chapter 46. New Enemies and Old Debts. Chen Xiang just entered into the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, so now he is trying to stabilize his newfound power. This will allow him to more smoothly cast engulfing devil skill in the future. The next day at noon, Chen Xiang left the forest and returned to King City. He was curious on how the sales of Dan King Hall were going. Chen Xiang, while walking down the avenue, saw Dan King Hall from quite some distance away, but he did not expect it to be so busy. This made him feel strange, so he quickly walked towards it. When he arrived at the entrance, he saw that the whole shop was in a bit of a mess. Chen Luzhong was full of anger while directing others to clean it all up. Dan King Hall was attacked. Chen Xiang was extremely sure of that. "Granduncle, I'm back." Chen Xiang quickly stepped inside. After seeing the pale face on Chen Luzhong, he frowned and asked, "Granduncle, who attacked you?" Chen Xiang was completely furious. He decided that as long as he managed to get a name out from Chen Luzhong's mouth, he would immediately go and get revenge. He would make them pay a heavy price for what they have done. "I was wounded by Chen Furong, and the Black Wing gang members are the ones responsible for the destruction of the store. Not only that, but they also wounded the workers. Thankfully Meng Lao and the other alchemists were in seclusion for refining dawn, so they are all fine." After saying so, Chen Luzhong hastily grabbed Chen Xiang. "Where do you think you're going?" When Chen Xiang learned that it was the Black Wing gang who did this, he was seething with fury inside. Not only did they send S sins before to kill him, which is a debt that must be repaid, but now they even attacked the store. Chen Xiang coldly replied, "Granduncle, let me go. I must get rid of the Black Wing gang once and for all. I'll go and settle old grudges and new debts all together. You go ahead and inform father that he needs to be completely prepared for a war with the Yao family. If our Chen family wants to have a stand in King City, we need to make an example out of the Yao family and completely frighten all other forces." "You want to go alone?" "No, I will also with you," Chen Luzhong said. "No, you need to go and first speak with Meng Lao. Dan King Hall will continue to remain open. At this time, if anyone comes to trouble us, they must be mercilessly slaughtered." Chen Xiang then walked away. Although Meng Bo and Chen Luzhong's individual strength was incomparable to Chen Furong's, if they fought together Chen Furong would have to pay a steep price to defeat both of them. Along the way, Chen Xiang overheard many things about Dan King Hall. Many people were very disappointed. Dan King Hall's prices were much cheaper than the Yao family dawn, and once they started selling dawn, it would have a large negative impact on the Yao family. As such, the Yao family wanted to bully Dan King Hall into closing. Although it meant there is no morals involved, and the methods were downright brutal, nobody could complain about them. This is because the Yao family is one of the powerhouses in King City, and no one wanted to be their enemy. "Yao family, just you wait and watch how I will destroy you." Chen Xiang's complexion gradually turned gloomy as his anger skyrocketed. At the Black Wing Gang mansion entrance, many guards were present. When they saw Chen Xiang heading towards them, they hastily drew out their weapons. "If you don't want to die, all of you leave at once." Chen Xiang stood emotionless at the Black Wing Gang mansion entrance. He clenched his fists, which suddenly became covered with a buzzing azure aura. Amidst the azure aura, lighting was bursting out one after the other, emitting a horrifying crackling noise. It was truly frightening. Everyone didn't want to die. They were all overawed by the sheer amount of true qi emanating from Chen Xiang's fists. They knew they were nothing but ants in front of Chen Xiang, so they immediately ran away. The gate was tightly shut. Chen Xiang stood in front of it as lighting flashed past his eyes. With a shout, he circulated the azure dragon, lighting true qi on both of his fists, and then fiercely hurled them towards that door. It was as if two giant dragons were pounding on the gates. Boom, 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 that thick door instantly disintegrated into powder. Smoke billowed about as all the guards present were stunned. Trembling, they realized that, if it was their body there, it would have also been turned into dust like the gate. This is the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. I'm absolutely sure that was aura qi. One of the guards immediately shouted with shock after seeing how Chen Xiang entered the mansion. According to the rumors, Chen Xiang was in the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. Yet now he was clearly at the 7th level. It was too much to take in. All the guards secretly let loose a deep breath. Had they tried to block him, it could have only resulted in certain death. After entering inside the mansion, Chen Xiang's entire body was covered in a soaring evil qi. He had been practicing slaughtering heart, and now all the killing intent was boiling over. All the previously ACCU mulat slaughter qi gushed out, deterring many retained and maidservants and forcing them to kneel. Their whole body felt weak as they lied down. This is what makes slaughtering heart so formidable. Merely the qi only is capable of deterring the other party. Who has come here to cause trouble with the Black Wing Gang? Chen Xiang halted his footsteps when he heard the shout. Dan King Hall's Chen Xiang. Underlings of the Yao family's stooges, today I will make sure the entire Black Wind Gang disappears from King City. Chen Xiang said in a heavy tone. Chen Xiang saw a blade of light flash. Hi+ing from the front. A person armed with a broadsword was leaping from quite a while away and aiming at his head. Humph! Chen Xiang just snorted in disdain, lightly waving his hand. An azure aura rich in lighting qi aura madly gushed out from his hand. It shot like a speeding star towards the man leaping up in the air. One could only hear the sound of an explosion. The man didn't even have the chance to cry before his whole body suddenly bursted into a mist of blood. The lighting aura power is extremely frightening. Many of the Black Wind Gang members, after seeing the blood mist drifting in the air and the shattered blade, became petrified. For them, it was the first time seeing such a frightening attack. With just one move, an expert of the Black Wind Gang was crushed. Moreover, not even a slag was left after the attack. Chen Xiang is in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Skills of such experts are not common to begin with, not to mention how Chen Xiang has been using divine exercises to cultivate. Moreover, he also has the 5-element attributed true qi. You walked right into my trap, Chen Xiang. Today, I will not allow you to leave here in one piece. You just killed my son, and I'm gonna present your head as a sacrifice for him. A resentful voice came soon after. Chen Xiang was standing in the middle of a large garden. He was surrounded on all sides by black-robed men. At this time, the Black Wind Gang leader appeared, and at his side were a few people standing in luxurious attire. It was quite a surprise to Chen Xiang that the King City Governor, Hua Gaoyun, was actually present. A single teenager stood beside him. It should be his son. Chen Xiang sneered. So your son is allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill him? Not to mention he even brought along 300 people with him, yet he was still killed by me. They were just a big pile of trash. No one is to blame for his death except himself. Worthy of the rumors, Chen family young master. Could it be that you do not know about your own family situation? Your wastrel father has been wounded and Dan King Hall was destroyed. Yet you actually dare to show your face here? You're simply seeking death. One middle-aged man dressed in a golden huafu sneered and retorted. Chen Xiang's body shook as mesmerizing lighting aura surged out. His eyes were filled to the brim with hate as he glared towards that middle-aged man, saying, "What did you just say? My father is Traz. H. Plus? So what if I said that? Remember this great master's name, W. A. N. G. Yushan. I'm the patriarch of the W. A. N. G. family." That middle-aged man said proudly. The W. A. N. G. family is one of the martial art families of King City, but Chen Xiang didn't have any strong impressions of them. But in return, the families that lie outside King City do not even appear in their sights, therefore they naturally didn't pay any attention to the Chen family. Humph, so it was only a family of dogs licking the Yao family's boot. I do not even consider you a threat. Chen Xiang sneered. These puny families trying to flatter the Yao family was not much of a surprise to him. Little b, A-S-T, A-R-D. How dare you insult the W. A-N-G family? I'll definitely waste you today. Ji-shan flew into a rage. Although Chen Xiang's speech was ugly, it was still the truth. Chapter 47. Exterminated. Chapter 47. Exterminated. Ji-shan roared before his body was covered in a golden aura. It was as if his entire body was on fire. This was the Ji family's unique King True Qi, and it gave off an incomparably fierce pressure. Ji-shan took a few steps before blasting his golden fist into the air towards Chen Xiang. A tough and powerful qi burst out, accompanied by a roar. In a blink of an eye, the pressure had been directly thrusted into the face of Chen Xiang. The aura-filled strike rumbled as it dashed forward, leaving behind a trail of explosions that caused all the nearby stones to shatter into several pieces. A deep gully was formed. It was as if the floor had just been plowed. Seeing this, the crowd varied. If someone got hit with that kind of power, they would be reduced to nothing but mincemeat. With only this level of power, you dare claim to be a patriarch? My dad could crush you with one hand behind his back. Chen Xiang smiled contemptuously as he waved his arm fiercely, instantly striking the incoming qi aura and scattering it into nothingness. Everyone could not avoid the sensation of shock. Chen Xiang just waved his hand like he was shooing away a fly, but instead that fearsome qi aura was easily swept away in front of the shocked onlookers. Chen Xiang's qi aura rushed out with just a wave of his hand, and he was able to completely eliminate Ji-shan's blow. This in itself was indisputable proof that Chen Xiang's qi aura was many times stronger than Ji-shan's. Ji-shan's confidence and arrogance had vanished into thin air after just one light wave of Chen Xiang's hand. This made him doubt that whether his qi aura was able to unleash and display its full potential, but just by looking at the gully formed by his qi aura, he realized that this was not the case. As he thought about it again, his whole body shook as he realized he was no match for Chen Xiang's formidable strength. Currently, Ji-shan, along with everyone else, stood in a stunned daze. With a flicker, Chen Xiang arrived in front of Ji-shan with frightening speed, which once again sent everyone into shock. Before Ji-shan was even able to react, he felt a severe pain explode from his abdomen. He immediately lowered his head and saw an arm cloaked in azure true qi. It had cleanly penetrated through his stomach and extended out of his back. Ji-shan loudly shrieked. At this time Chen Xiang had already ripped away his arm. He had just used Azure Dragon Claw, transforming his true qi into a sharp dragon claw. Its sharpness could with ease penetrate a hard boulder, let alone the fragile human body. True qi was still wrapped around his arm, revealing not a single bloodstain left from that brutal strike. Looking at the pale Ji-shan in front of him, Chen Xiang coldly stated, "Get away from my sight. This is between me and the Black Wing Gang. You brought this upon yourself when you stepped in between us. For now I'll spare you dog life and let you take a look at the true strength of our Chen family." Ji-shan was completely shocked by Chen Xiang's strength. Although his heart was filled to the brim with resentment, he did not dare say anything in reply. In the end, he reluctantly crawled away as a few people came to his aid, taking him away from the Black Wing Gang's mansion. Chen Xiang focused his eyes towards the Black Wind Gang's leader. Azure lighting was flash. Plus-ing within his eyes as slaughter qi started to soar out from his entire body. After sweeping his gaze through everyone present, he eventually reached the Black Wing Gang's leader. Chen Xiang coldly stated, "If any you meddle in things which you're not supposed to, don't blame me for what happens. You and I don't have any deep grudges, and I don't want to take any needless actions which would waste my strength." Governor Hua Gaoyun was an expert of the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. although his overall strength was a lot higher than Jiishan's. When he had witnessed Chen Xiang's performance and skills, Hua Gaoyun was extremely conflicted. Even if he faced Chen Xiang and somehow won, Hua Gaoyun was dead certain that he would not get through it unscathed. It would obviously not be beneficial for him, and he could clearly see this point. Otherwise he would have never become a governor of King City. He saw that the Black Wind Gang's leader has offended a young alchemist with immeasurable potential. It was simply not worth it, not even adding into the equation that the Chen family was not to be trifled with. Without any delay, Hua Gaoyun took his son and instantly left. As for the Black Wind Gang's leader, he couldn't stop the current progression of things. This was because he already knew that after today, the Black Wind Gang would cease to exist in King City. He could only stand by and watch as everyone he invited left one by one. Although he was extremely angry, he dared not to attack and force them to stay. Attack him together, he is just one person. The Black Wind Gang's leader yelled as he rushed towards Chen Xiang wielding a long black spear. Just like an angry dragon, Chen Xiang madly roared as powerful chi aura waves rippled outwards with Chen Xiang as the origin. Wherever they went, only destruction followed. The bricks it breezed past were crushed into dust. Flowers and trees within the garden suddenly looked like they had been slashed by thousands of blades. Everyone present in the garden started to scream out miserably, and their 7 apertures started bleeding. As they were covered in scars that sprang up one after another in an endless loop, the entire group quickly fell down on the ground. This move of Chen Xiang's burst out vigorous amounts of aura chi along with a sonic attack. Although the consumption of energy was tremendous, the power and range of the attack was equally astonishing. Hi+ing. Only the Black Wind Gang's leader was left standing. Over 1,000 of his Black Wind Gang members were now lying on the ground, dead. It was unbelievable that they were taken out just by a single 16-year-old teenager who had such a vicious and fearsome true chi. The Black Wind Gang's leader felt his heart constrict in terror, only now did he know what kind of person he had messed with. Ha 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 ha! The Black Wind Gang's leader suddenly started laughing maniacally. What are you laughing about? Chen Xiang asked as he slowly advanced step by step towards him. I'm laughing because the Yao family will not let off your Chen family. Your entire Chen family will perish. With a grim smile, the Black Wind Gang's leader replied. In a flash Chen Xiang came in front of him. Forcing out his vigorous true chi, he transformed it into chi aura and fired a powerful punch. The Black Wind Gang's leader flew like a rag doll, Hi+ing into a house on the distant horizon. Chen Xiang quickly flew towards him. Entering into the house, he gripped the Black Wind Gang's leader's head, shouting in his heart, engulfing devil skill. This Black Wind Gang's leader was in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. The amount of true chi in his body was not bad, but he was facing Chen Xiang. In front of this monster, the Black Wind Gang's leader was completely helpless and utterly vulnerable. As Chen Xiang cast the engulfing devil skill, for the first time, he felt a large amount of true chi surging into his arm, heading straight to his body. This true chi was very oppressive, and it swirled around in his body. The entire process made him feel uncomfortable, but it was not to an unbearable degree. The Black Wind Gang's leader howled in despair, his heart in endless dismay. He had never dreamed that Chen Xiang could actually draw out the internal true chi within his body and then absorb it. This martial skill was extremely frightening. If a righteous sect came to learn about it, they would certainly hunt Chen Xiang down. Chen Xiang had refined his body within the immortal and devil pond. His bones, muscles and meridians were all incomparably tough. It was actually enough to withstand this sudden surge of true chi, thus stopping his body from exploding. It was also the reason that Bai Yuyu had dared to teach him this devil skill, because this technique required a very tough body. In just a short moment, the Black Wind Gang's leader hard cultivated true chi had been entirely deprived by Chen Xiang. As a result, the Black Wind Gang's leader died shortly after. Chen Xiang was also having a hard time. He wanted to suppress and rein in this oppressive true qi, otherwise it would be very troublesome. At this moment, Chen Xiang was not thinking about looting Black Wind Gang, but instead hurried to incinerate the Black Wind Gang's leader body before swiftly leaving. If a Yao family expert came, he would be in a very big trouble. Also, he was in a hurry to completely refine this true qi. Currently his strength was comparable to the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Reaching this level of power in itself was very frightening. It must be known that in the entire Southern Martial Empire, only a few martial artists had reached the 8th level of mortal martial realm. In Dan King Hall's backyard, Chen Xiang arrived and quickly entered a private room deep below the earth. When Chen Luzhong saw Chen Xiang's dignified complexion, he did not dare ask anything. If only Meng Bo hadn't gone into seclusion to refine pills, Dan King Hall wouldn't have been destroyed. The Black Wind Gang had been destroyed. This news soon spread through the whole of King City. In the morning, they had gone to Dan King Hall looking to stir up trouble, but in that very same afternoon, the entire gang was completely eradicated. Not only this, but it was also done by Chen Xiang alone. King City's residents were all amazed by Chen Xiang's strength, and at this point they had a new understanding of just how powerful Chen Xiang was. Although many people had died, body came forward to address these things, nor did they want to intervene. Although the imperial palace had the emperor, even they did not dare to provoke these powerful figures, as they knew very well about the formidability of these martial experts. Chapter 48. Divine Power Realm. Chapter 48. Divine Power Realm. Although the Black Wind Gang was exterminated, there was no movement in the Yao family. It was well known that the Black Wind Gang were the Yao family's lackeys. Many people guessed that the Yao family was busy preparing for the upcoming King City's martial tournament, as well as searching for their missing Yao family elder and genius. Dan King Hall was quickly restored to its former brilliance, and was ready to start anew. After the Black Wing Gang's extermination, all of King City's citizens were shocked by Dan King Hall's display of strength. Everyone was now ing into Dan King Hall to buy pills, as their pills were far cheaper than the Yao family's. Soon their Dan shop's sales took a huge blow. Most of the customers were martial artists, who were neither very wealthy nor did they had a huge background. They earned money in order to buy Dawn and elevate their strengths. As such, they just choose whomever sold at a cheaper price. Not to mention, Dan King Hall was managed by the Southern Martial Empire's Dan King, making these people feel more at ease about their purchases. The main bulk of the sales were low-grade mortal-level Dawn. Only a few middle-grade mortal-level Dawn were sold, because they were a lot more expensive. High-grade mortal-level Dawn were sold the least, as ordinary people could not afford these Dawn. Because the Danxiang Herbal Manor constantly supplied cheap spirit herbs, Dan King Hall managed to save a lot of money. Plus, even if Dan King Hall had made a great deal of profit, Chen Xiang simply did not want any of it, and all of it was left for Dan King Hall to use. Even after an entire day had passed, Chen Diang was still refining the true qi he had recently engulfed and forcibly taken from the Black Wing Gang's leader. This true qi was very turbid. In order to transform it into the purest form, Chen Xiang had to remove many impurities. This process required a great deal of time. Chen Xiang's dantian was stuffed full of true qi, and he was currently constantly compressing that true qi, allowing his dantian to store more and more true qi, simultaneously trying to break into the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Operating the Tai Chi divine exercise. The Tai Chi yin and yang diagram in Chen Xiang's dantian quickly started to rotate. True qi was constantly entering the Tai Chi diagram. It then quickly broke into the 5 elements, swiftly turning into 5 true qi vortexes. The 8th level of the mortal martial realm, the unlocking of divine power. At this stage, one could fuse their divine sense and true qi together, as a result of which the true qi evolved with a spirit of its own and which would be even more powerful. Their aura would also become a lot stronger, exponentially more powerful compared to those in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. In order to advance into the 8th level, one first needs to have vigorous true qi and a strong divine sense. As Chen Xiang had fully absorbed all of the Black Wing Gang leader's true qi, there was no doubt that Chen Xiang's total true qi was quite vigorous. Plus, after his body was refined in the immortal and devil pool, his spirit was exceptionally strong. As his current divine sense could not be considered weak, as soon as he grasped the method to fuse his divine sense and true qi together, he would be able to break through. The mortal martial realm was divided into 10 stages, and during each breakthrough it was like opening a giant locked gate, having to force it open with brute force at each stage. Not only does it need a certain amount of power, but one also needed to comprehend certain tricks. Currently Chen Xiang had more than enough power, he just needed to comprehend how to fuse his true qi and divine sense. As soon as he does, he can unlock that door and enter into the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, the realm of divine power. By operating the Tai Chi divine exercise, he was slowly comprehending the profound secrets of this divine exercise. Chen Xiang's true qi and divine sense gradually fused together. The invisible divine sense melded together with the colorful true qi. These two powerful forces slowly fused together as something seemed to burst open in Chen Xiang's body. Endless strength emerged constantly in a steady stream and continued onwards to impact his meridians, muscles, and bones. Thud, in Chen Xiang's mind a sound suddenly resounded. It was as if a heavy gate had just been opened. In a steady but swift stream, an endless flow of power surged from this opening into his body, thereby enhancing his strength and making it even more tyrannical than before. As Chen Xiang opened his eyes, 2 white beams emitted as the golden mist enshrouding his body gradually dispersed. At this time, his eyes became clear. He could clearly perceive the tiny dust particles drifting on the ground. He can clearly hear far-off sounds from every direction, but he didn't think it was noisy. He could clearly identify what each sound was, what each and every person was saying amongst those chaotic noises. In the most crucial time, Chen Xiang had entered into the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, the divine power realm. He was also just about to reach 17 years of age. King City's martial art tournament was held once every decade. Only those 20 or younger could partake. 1p8 in this grand tourney. This time, it was organized by the Yao family and supervised by numerous experts from the martial arts sects from the Immortal Mountains. Whoever manages to place first in the whole compet. 1. Tian would not only win a high-grade spirit-level true elemental dan, but also earn the qualifications to enter one of the observing martial arts sections. These were very attractive rewards for anyone. It should be known that spirit-level dan were extremely expensive already. In fact, they were generally not sold. Those who require them would need to seek out an alchemist to personally refine it. Not to mention, there was always high risk of failure in refining dan, and besides this was a high-grade spirit-level true elemental dan. Each true elemental dan contained a vast amount of pure true qi. After taking and refining the energy within, the individual absorbing the dan could easily get a large amount of true qi without going through the long arduous process of absorbing the spirit qi of heaven and earth. It was truly a superb dan that could quickly elevate one's power. Many people applied for the King City's martial art tournament, but only a select few were able to pass through the harsh assessments. In fact, there was merely 40 people in total. This showed just how high the requirements to entire King City's martial art tournament were. During the test, Chen Xiang easily got the highest assessment. His fist had actually pulverized the strength measuring stone. Even the stone was unable to measure his true power. However, not a single person had yet to notice Chen Xiang's arrival. The Yao family's field was akin to mountain and seas composed of human, with a large sea of people encircling the 6 feet high and 20 feet in diameter, round martial stage. Standing above the crowd were a total of 39 boys and girls. Chen Xiang was still nowhere to be seen. I heard that 2 days ago he destroyed the Black Wind Gang. Could it be that he was injured and cannot come? Inside the crowd a person's voice could be heard. Most likely, after all, I heard that the Black Wing Gang's leader was a 7th-level mortal martial realm expert. Plus, Chen Xiang is rather young. It is highly likely that they were mutually wounded, another person replied. And no one has seen Chen Xiang within the Dan King Hall in the past 2 days. It seems like he really cannot come, such a pity. One man sighed. Everyone watching the tournament was hoping for Chen Xiang's arrival, yet he had not. Many people were very disappointed, making the arrogant group on stage very unhappy. This was because it was as though the audience thought that Chen Xiang would come and easily get first place. While everyone was talking about Chen Xiang, a figure cloaked in black, with sword-like eyebrows and S.H.I. New York starry eyes, walked up to the stairs of the stage with a clear expression of determination. Watching the calm and handsome boy slowly appear on stage, the entire field fell silent, before bursting into waves of screams. Chen Xiang had finally come, which made the entire crowd excited. On the stage there were now 40 boys and girls, yet Chen Xiang overshadowed them all because of what he wore. Very common black tights, compared to the others who were all luxuriously dressed. Yet in both temperament and build, they were far inferior compared to Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang gave off the impression of a very mature and stable individual, with a faint trace of a smile on his face. All in all, the other boys and girls had a high and mighty attitude, with proud looks on their faces and acting as if the crowd was beneath them. This made everyone watching displeased. Comparatively, everyone looking at Chen Xiang felt comfortable. Chapter 49 Leng Yulan. Chapter 49 Leng Yulan. Chen Xiang had just entered the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, and his divine sense was already coming in handy. He could tell that there was actually 2 experts of 7th level of the mortal martial realm on the tournament stage, one of whom was an around 20-year-old boy cloaked in S.H.I. Ning golden aura. The other was a very beautiful girl with soft white hair that was tied into a ponytail. Slim and slender, she looked very beautiful and mature as well, yet also cold and proud. Actually, she was wearing the same type of clothes as Chen Xiang. Black tights, sketching out her perfectly hot figure. However, the quality of her outfit far exceeded that of Chen Xiang's. This girl was attracting a lot of attention because of her strange white hair, mature appearance, sexy figure, an extremely beautiful but cold and proud face. Even Chen Xiang glanced towards her many times. The rules are being announced. The first round will be held today. 40 people will be divided into 8 groups of 5. The winner of each group will go on to the quarterfinals. An old man shouted. He was an Yao family elder. 5 will fight on stage at a time. The last man standing will be the victor of the group and advance. The rules were quite common. 5 people would fight a battle royale on stage, eliminating each other one by one, while the last one standing would be crowned the victor. The Yao family elder mainly explained the tournament rules to state that they are allowed to use dirty tricks and tactics, but not allowed to kill. Afterwards, the 8 groups were soon formed, and Chen Xiang was not grouped with either of the 2 7th-level mortal martial realm practitioners. In his group, there were 4 guys, each around 19 to 20-year-old and at the pinnacle of the 6th mortal martial realm. It seemed like they were just about to break through to the next level. Chen Xiang guessed that the Yao family had intentionally put him such a group to get him eliminated during the first round of the tournament. At this time, Chen Xiang also learned the item. 1. Ties of the 2 7th-level mortal martial realm practitioners. The girl was called Leng Yulan, and she was the daughter of a famous general of Southern Martial Empire. Yet despite her mature looks, she was only 14 years old. This made Chen Xiang secretly snarl. The other teenager was called Song Nanming. He was the eldest son of the emperor. Basically, he was the crown prince of Southern Martial Empire. This year he just turned 20, and was at pinnacle of 7th level of mortal martial realm. The inherent talent was also good, but in Chen Xiang's opinion it was still poor compared to Leng Yulan, because she was only 14 years old. Chen Xiang's group was the last to fight, but also the most unbalanced. Not only was Chen Xiang only 16 years old, but the other group members were 19 or 20. Everyone could see that this was intentional. If it was one-on-one, Chen Xiang would have the highest possibility to win. But if all 5 people fought in this melee knockout, Chen Xiang may very well be defeated. If it was before, when Chen Xiang was only at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, he might have been somewhat worried. But now he was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm and had a lot more strength. Just by stomping his feet on the ground, his feet could shake the whole field. Plus, with the divine exercise and his 5 elements true qi, his strength was comparable to that of a 9th level mortal martial realm warrior. Chen Xiang did not actually expect he would break through to the 8th level of the mortal martial realm just a few days after he entered the 7th level. This was all thanks to the engulfing devil skill that was taught to him by Bai Yuyu. At that time, he also understood the dangerous lure of devil skills. Chen Xiang stood among the audiences, watching the first 5 people as they fought on the tournament stage. He was observing their respective fighting styles, and his eyes shone whenever they casted their martial skills. He could clearly see the true qi flowing in their meridians thanks to his extraordinary divine sense. As such, it was a piece of cake for Chen Xiang to steal and learn their techniques unlike normal people. This was something he could easily imitate and use in the future. All 5 people were squeezed near the center of the stage. No one wanted to fight near the edge, as once someone steps out, they are eliminated. At this time, they were chaotically fighting in the middle of the stage. This type of chaotic battle also required one to have a certain strength and endurance for them to last long enough to be the last man standing. Sometimes an individual would find themselves facing all other 4 fighters. Moreover, they all attacked and simultaneously resisted others. From these facts one could see the Partic 1. P. Ant's capability to use and respond to a martial skill. Although the audience exclaimed with gasps of shock and admiration whenever those 5 people cast their martial skills, Chen Xiang felt nothing but disdain. Although flashy, there were far too many shortcomings, as such he did not try to steal and learn them. The first round was soon finished. The victor's strength was good. With vigorous true qi, he lasted until he was the last one left. The other 4 were not defeated, but rather had to step down as their true qi had been completely consumed. These boys and girls were in 6th level of the mortal martial realm. In many people's eyes, they were geniuses and quite powerful. But Chen Xiang knew their basics were not good, their foundation was unstable. Their true qi was not vigorous or pure enough. Although their martial skills were good, they were not able to unleash the full power of their martial skills, and they also had horrible accuracy. Well, I suppose they are too sheltered. All their lives they have been treated as treasures and supported by their families, having not suffered the bitterness of true practice. Chen Xiang muttered coldly in his heart. However, not many could practice like him, bitterly practicing until the moon started falling. The next round was the Southern Martial Empire's crown prince, Song Nanming's turn. He was a martial artist in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, but the others were only in the 6th level. In fact, at the beginning of the round, 2 quickly fell down from an explosion. Song Nanming then used his advantage of being in 7th level of the mortal martial realm to swiftly overcome the other 2. The entire audience cheered with excitement after he won. Next, it was the great general's daughter, Leng Yulan's turn. When she stepped on stage, many men in the audience lost their breath as they stared. fully at her figure. Ling Yulan was wearing black tights. With her slim, slender and flexible legs, her appearance really did not match her age. The mature and graceful body emanated a cold and proud temperament. It was hard for anyone to imagine that this girl was only 14 years old. The true qi from this girl is very strange. Chen Xiang frowned and whispered. Su Meiyao replied, This girl has a fire-ice vein. What rank it is, I can't tell. The true qi that she practices must be fire and ice true qi. When these two opposing types of true qi fuse, they become like this, strange and unpredictable. If you face her flames, it is very possible that they would be able to freeze you. In short, this little girl is marvelous and extraordinary. It would probably be for the best if you became friends with her. Chen Xiang's pupils contracted. Watching that mature and charming figure on the stage, he was secretly shocked in his heart. Someone who could obtain Su Meiyao's acknowledgments would definitely not be ordinary. Start. As the sound faded away, Ling Yulan suddenly turned into a black shadow which rushed around the stage. Seemingly dragging something that looked like a long black ghost, her speed was so fast that the audience clicked their tongues in amazement. They weren't alone, as the four men on stage were also stunned. Chen Xiang's brow wrinkled. Even he could barely make out Ling Yulan's beautiful but serious face. But this act made his eyes extremely strained. Her fast speed surprised even him. Bang! A sound suddenly came as one of the Partic 1p ants on stage suddenly flew off. Although most people did not see how the man was beaten down, everyone realized it must have been the quick Ling Yulan. In fact, only her shadow was visible to most of the audience at this point. However, Chen Xiang saw clearly that Ling Yulan sent out a powerful kick on the youth. It was actually strong enough that the individual in question flew out after one strike. Ling Yulan quickly struck each of her opponents in such a way that only her silhouette was visible, yet all it took was one kick as each of her compet 1-tors flew out. As the other Partic 1p ants flew out one by one, everyone cheered. Ling Yulan has successfully entered the quarter-finals. Next is the final group. The Yao family elder shouted. Finally it was Chen Xiang's turn. Everyone knew that Chen Xiang was going to face four other 6th-level mortal martial realm experts. Each of them had remained in that realm for many years. They were naturally much stronger than others at the same level, making it even more disadvantageous for Chen Xiang. Chapter 50 Plot. Chapter 50 Plot. As Chen Xiang stepped onto the stage, his facial expression was completely relaxed. He was in no way anxious because of his four powerful opponents. This calm and confident attitude made others admire him. Chen Xiang stood with the other four on stage, and even though they were 20 years old, they were still shorter. Their statures were not as robust as the 17-year-old Chen Xiang's. He actually looked more healthy and energetic compared to them. Ling Yulan, who was in the audience, seriously watched Chen Xiang. Her cold and beautiful eyes carefully observed Chen Xiang, wanting to see through him. But it was like clouds had covered more clouds. She wasn't even able to sense Chen Xiang's breath. Start. The instant the signal was given, all four of the other Partic 1p ants rushed towards Chen Xiang extremely quickly. At the same time, they simultaneously blasted out a fist wrapped in vigorous true qi. Everyone could clearly tell that the four fists emitted a frightening amount of true qi. It seemed like they could even blast giant mountains into tiny rocks. Chen Xiang simply stood still with both hands behind his back. The four fists fiercely landed on his chest, and bursted into qi waves which lead to a gust of fierce winds. The whole tournament stage wildly shook and nearly collapsed. At this moment, everyone's heart seemed to stop. The four fists were so frightening, and had all landed on a single target. Let alone people, even solid iron bars would easily break under such pressure. But Chen Xiang was not an ordinary man. When the four fists struck his chest, his expression did not change in the slightest. In fact, if anything, His face was more relaxed as he stood there, which bathed the entire crowd in silence. Everyone stood dumbly like wooden chickens. Astonishment was clearly visible on every single face in the crowd. Leng Yolan's brow wrinkled. She was tightly watching Chen Xiang. Her mature, proud and cold face was painted with surprise. Even if she completely exhausted all of her true qi, she could only barely resist those 4 fists. Yet not only did Chen Xiang not use any true qi, he didn't even prepare himself to defend. This was how casually he received those 4 blows. Chen Xiang didn't use true qi because he had already entered the 8th level of the mortal marital realm. Furthermore, his body was naturally a lot stronger due to the refinement in the immortal and devil pool. For him, opponents in the 6th level and the 1st level of the mortal marital realm were the same, their attacks were merely superficial. Of course, out of everyone present, the most shocked were the 4 men who attacked Chen Xiang. As their frightening attacks struck Chen Xiang's body, it felt like everything went down the drain. The enormous strength they had put in their strikes just quietly disappeared, making them all question their own power because of how easily the other side had resisted their combined attacks with nothing but his body. They all openly retreated. If Chen Xiang can casually resist their simultaneous attack and not even flinch, one could only imagine his strength. It was dead certain that he was extremely powerful. Chen Xiang fully opened his eyes fully as the invisible slaughter qi emerged from his body. All the 4 men were bathed in extreme blood. As their whole bodies froze. It was as if they had fallen into hell at the height of its slaughter, and Chen Xiang was the god of slaughter, and the 4 men were nothing but lambs led to the slaughterhouse. Do you want get down and forfeit, or do you want me to act? Chen Xiang's voice was full of killing intent. This was truly terrifying. This slaughter qi resulted from him practicing the slaughtering heart, from the white tiger divine exercise, which added a spiritual pressure. Chen Xiang's voice resounded as the 4 people standing immediately backed off. Under the sweep of his frightening and almost divine killing sense, their spirits had collapsed long ago. With the help of his divine sense, not a single one of them had any intention left of fighting against him. From start to finish, Chen Xiang did not even move. He simply scared away the other 4 and entered into the quarter-finals. This result was outside anyone's expectations. Those who had entered into the quarterfinals experienced a large amount of pressure from facing this monster, Chen Xiang. Their chances of winning just diminished greatly. Next was to create 4 groups of individual 1-on-1 fight. This was also managed by the Yao family, but the matchups had not been announced for quite some time. Chen Xiang said nothing. In his eyes, whoever he had to fight was the same. Even if the Yao family tried to play dirty tricks, they would all amount to nothing like their attempt just now. Chen Xiang's next opponent turned out to be a Yao family member. In fact, it seems like he was the brother of Yao Tianhua. His name was Yao Chong and was only of the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. This actually made Chen Xiang surprised for a moment. But he quickly guessed things were not as they seemed, as he was the most clear on the Yao family's strength. Not to mention that the Yao family had arranged for someone from their own family to fight, there was no doubt some form of trickery involved. The Yao family disciples usually either planted spirit herbs or learned alchemy technique. From the very start, their strength was way behind others. Yao Tianhua was an exception as he could practice alchemy and have a good amount of power, however he was currently missing. The Yao family simply did not have any other outstanding disciples. The Yao family mainly used their dawn to attract other families and a large number of wandering martial artists to settle down under their authority. Once again, Chen Xiang was in the last round of the day. Starting tomorrow, there would be 2 fights each day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Chen Xiang wasn't concerned about anyone, so he didn't go watch the earlier matches. He felt that the time would be better spent practicing alchemy. Once 2 days had gone past, and Chen Xiang was walking towards the Yao family after eating lunch. Although he didn't go watch the 3 matches, 2 yesterday and 1 in this morning, he still learned who won. The Crown Prince and Ling Yulan both won their respective matches and would fight each other tomorrow morning. This match between the Crown Prince and the Great General's daughter should be very interesting. Perhaps I'll go and watch tomorrow. Chen Xiang made a quick mental note as he stepped on the tournament stage, waiting for Yao Chong to arrive. As for Chen Xiang's and Yao Chong's fight, everyone thought that Chen Xiang would easily win. However, they were uncertain why the Yao family would allow Chen Xiang to face Yao Chong. It was like sending him to do a thankless and pointless job. Your display of strength clearly shows your worth as someone who defeated Tianhua. I hope Brother Chen will show some leniency. Yao Chong approached Chen Xiang and said with a smile. Yao Chen and Yao Tianhua looked somewhat similar. A sliver of pride could be easily seen on either of their faces, but it seemed more subdued on Yao Chen's. Chen Xiang did not actually care about this Yao family junior or his courtesy. Chen Xiang smiled and said, "Then we can compare notes on our martial arts." The two quickly separated from each other. Start. The instant the signal was given, Chen Xiang saw a hint of ruthlessness and cunningness appear in Yao Chong's eyes. Chen Xiang was slightly surprised in his heart, but knew that there was some dirty trickery ahead. Yao Chong took the initiative as he leapt towards Chen Xiang. Both of Yao Chong's fists were cloaked in hot flames, surging with a vigorous and scorching hot true qi. Watching the punch come towards him, Chen Xiang immediately moved to dodge. But in that instant, his whole body suddenly became slack, and he was unable to put forth even a tiny bit of strength. He was even unable to move his true qi, which made his heart jump with shock. Yao Chong's face suddenly turned ferocious as he said in a heavy voice, "Chen Xiang, you are finished." Both of his flaming fists landed on Chen Xiang's body, madly striking him. In just a blink of an eye, his chest and head have all been smashed by those violent fists. This bastard, he's actually at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Xiang had not expected that Yao Chong had hidden his strength so deeply. Yet what Chen Xiang was most angry about was the despicable trick that Yao Chong has used that resulted in Chen Xiang's body turning weak and made him unable to mobilize his true qi. Unfortunately, Chen Xiang's body could be considered tougher than stone. Despite being struck by a 7th mortal martial realm expert with no defense, he was still not seriously injured, which scared the living daylights out of Yao Chong. When you were talking to me, you released an odorless and colorless poison from your mouth, paralyzing my meridians so that I can't move my true qi, right? Chen Xiang whispered, as his clear and calm eyes looked straight at Yao Chong. Yao Chong did not expect for his opponent to find out what method used so soon, but did not confirm or deny Chen Xiang's statement. Instead, he attempted to strike him with even more ferocity and madness. Chapter 51. BLODY Methods. Chapter 51 BLOODY Methods. From the start of the match, Chen Xiang fell under the wind. It was out of everyone's expectations that Yao Chong's true strength was at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, which surprised all of them. Now they all understood why the Yao family had matched up Yao Chong against Chen Xiang. "Chen Xiang, are you only this strong? I'm very disappointed." Ling Yulan stood nearby hugging her bosom, her cold eyes filled with disappointment. At this time, Chen Xiang was already pushed to the edge of the stage and was going to be hit again by Yao Chong. The Yao family's methods were very clever and even caught Chen Xiang off guard. The Yao family considered nearly everything, but didn't know about the invisible ring on Chen Xiang's finger or the 2 peerless beauties inside it, one of which was a grand master of alchemy. This is a strong poisonous gas that has a strong attribute of paralysis, but after the refinement of your body in the immortal and devil pool, your meridians are extremely tough. You only need to operate the Tai Chi divine exercise and let the Tai Chi diagram in your dantian rotate and the poisonous gas will be refined. Su Meiyao said. operating the Wu Tai Chi divine exercise. At once, the spirit chi all around Chen Xiang madly rushed into his body. Surging into the meridians along with the paralysis poisonous gas, they both flowed into his dantian and was refined by the five-element true qi inside. Yao Chong originally wanted to seriously wound Chen Xiang and then toss him off the stage, but no matter what Yao Chong did, Chen Xiang's eyes were filled with a deadly killing intent. Nothing close to resembling humanity could be seen in his eyes. Chen Xiang was already able to move. Meanwhile, without knowing this, the crowd was watching as Yao Chong pulled out a short knife that was shrouded in a cold aura, heading straight for Chen Xiang's chest. TLN. The actual translation for the short knife was Snickersnay, which looked like this: "Go die!" Yao Chong shouted. Everyone was shocked as the whole field bursted into commotion. One could hear curses being shouted one after another. Just as Yao Chong's short knife was about to pierce his opponent's chest, Chen Xiang, who had not moved until now, suddenly stirred. Every single bone in Chen Xiang's body was ringing, emitting a crackling sound. He stretched out his left hand and grabbed the edge of the short knife between his two fingers, then viciously pinched the weapon, turning it into small shards. B-A-S-T-A-R-D. First you paralyze me with underhanded poisonous gas, and now you want to kill me so desperately. You Yao family SCU. are ruthless. Chen Xiang cursed extremely angrily. Violent azure aura surged into both of his hands, filling to the brim with a lighting aura true qi, which was extremely scary. Go die! Chen Xiang shouted angrily as both of his fists shot forward like two violent storms, striking directly on Yao Chong's body. In just a blink of an eye, a rain of fists containing violent lighting qi pounded Yao Chong's body. Yao Chong could only emit a series of pitiful screams as the Yao family members in the audiences quickly leapt towards the stage. After seeing this, Chen Xiang's palm suddenly transformed into a huge azure dragon claw. Azure true qi was valiantly soaring from the dragon claw and swiftly pierced through Yao Chong's body as blood soon sprayed out like a never-ending fountain. The instant Yao Chong was hit by the azure dragon claw, true qi easily pierced into his fragile body and left 5 gaping holes. He fell like a rag doll onto the ground but was still not dead yet. Chen Xiang, stop! A Yao family elder blasted a fist towards Chen Xiang, who easily sidestepped it. A sudden burst of true qi flash. Hi+ing with lightning aura could be seen on Chen Xiang's legs. Fiercely lifting his leg up, he spun like he was wielding a giant axe wrapped in azure lighting and sent a devastating chop towards Yao Chong's waist. Stop! That Yao family elder roared again, but Yao Chong had already been split in two by Chen Xiang's violent spinning kick. Yao Chong died instantly on the stage. The sight was extremely bloody and disgusting, while everyone watching suddenly had Hi+ver running down their spines. The whole wide field was dead silent. The only noise that could be heard was a large group of people gulping. Chen Xiang's action made everyone astonished. Someone had actually, right in front of the Yao family gate, in front of an Yao family elder, beheaded one of the Yao family's esteemed juniors. Not only that, but he had also done so in such a bloody and gruesome phase. Hi+on. When he was trying to kill me, why didn't you try to stop him? If he tries to kill me, what in the world made you think I wouldn't kill him? Moreover, I still followed the rules imposed. Chen Xiang's voice was freezing yet fully of fiery anger. If he wasn't able to disperse the poisonous gas in time, he would have been killed. Just a moment ago, Yao Chong tried to stab Chen Xiang with a short knife. Everybody saw this clear violation of the rules. As such, Chen Xiang violating the rule of no killing did not mean anything. Do you want to fight me? Chen Xiang looked coldly at that Yao family elder as slaughter qi soared out from his whole body. The Yao family elder saw the split in half body lying on the ground, still dripping with blood. His old face was full of anger, with a gaze that was also filled with killing intent. At this time, several other Yao family elders arrived. Ha ha ha! So funny, the Yao family brat decided to go against the rules to try and kill someone, but still couldn't do anything. Instead he was butchered, and now, you old Yao family men are looking for revenge? One extremely bold individual stood up and suddenly started laughing loudly and openly mocking the Yao family. It was extremely loud and open. The ridicule from an audience member made those Yao family elders' complexions extremely ugly. They really hated Chen Xiang, so they had arranged Yao Chong to fight against Chen Xiang. They allowed Yao Chong to take the antidote before he filled his mouth with the poisonous gas, and Yao Chong spoke with Chen Xiang. This way, Chen Xian was poisoned. But despite all this, the Yao family underestimated Chen Xiang's strength. Yao Chong wasn't able to seriously injure Chen Xiang, but Yao Chong did not want to waste this golden opportunity. So he took out a short knife and tried to stab Chen Xiang. In Yao Chong's opinion, the Yao family was extremely powerful in the southern martial empire and would be able to easily sweep this matter under the rug. Additionally, he would have killed Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang, we, the Yao family, will not let you off, one elder vengefully stated, his voice full of resentment. Chen Xiang sneered at him and said, "The dignified Yao family has actually declined to such a point. Don't worry, I will not let off your Yao family either." Chen Xiang walked down the tournament stage. The Yao family elder didn't dare resort to violence because if he did so, the Yao family would be ridiculed in the entire southern martial empire. Although this King City martial art tournament was managed by the Yao family, they still had to follow the rules. Yao Chong had violated the rules first, so Chen Xiang killing Yao Chong is a matter of course, even if the rules had stated against it. The Yao family wanted to stop Chen Xiang from leaving. They were reluctant to give way, but they all had a really good understanding of Yao Chong's strength. If Chen Xiang had easily executed Yao Chong in such a way, it was certain that Chen Xiang was, at the very least, encroaching the 8th level of the mortal martial realm's strength. Chen Xiang, don't be so proud. Yao Chong's teacher will soon come and deal with you. One of the elders coldly snorted before giving way and sending orders to clean up the tournament stage. Both of the Partic 1P ants were thought to be at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Yet Yao Chong was so vulnerable in front of Chen Xiang. Beforehand, Yao Chong had madly attacked Chen Xiang with all his might, yet failed to cause any harm to Chen Xiang. It was visible to anyone that Chen Xiang's strength was extraordinary. He was definitely not an ordinary martial artist in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Ling Yolan's beautiful curved eyebrows slightly knitted together. Watching Chen Xiang's back, she nibbled on her rosy red lip. She was also in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, but the true qi she could cast out wasn't nearly as tough as Chen Xiang's. In both making true qi erupt instantly or transforming it into a qi aura attack, it was extremely difficult to achieve it in such an arbitrary way. Even she could just barely do so. The grudge and hatred between Chen Xiang and the Yao family deepened again. Moreover, this time, the other major forces were also tangled in it. This was because the relations Hi+P between them and the Yao family was very good. Now that the war between the two were inevitable, they were unsettled. This was because if the Yao family lost the battle, then the Chen family would have annexed the Yao family, firmly grasping all of their properties. Plus, the Chen family was now also one of the strongest Dan forces. If these families helped the Yao family, they would only suffer a loss. Chapter 52 Beauty Departs. Chapter 52 Beauty Departs. Chen Xiang returned to Dan King Hall. He instantly ran to practice within his private room. This time, Su Meiyao was going to teach him some underhanded methods to prevent poisoning. Otherwise, if he encountered a situation like this again, he may not be as lucky as he was today. Little devil, you should have enraged that old man today and made him come out and fight you. Now you've allowed him to prepare, you're too tender. Bai Yu said. She was wearing a black dress, both hands hugging her chest as she leaned on the wall. Her clear as ice eyes displayed an unrestrained, killing intent. Su Meiyao gently laughed and said, "Senior sister, I remember that you once said how you are very satisfied with how this brat handles things. What changed?" Bai Yu snorts humph. "He doesn't have enough hatred. Not decisive enough regarding killing." "Sister Yu, are you not tired of always wearing the same clothes? How about I buy you some newer and prettier outfits?" Chen Xiang laughed and said. In order to please both beauties, Chen Xiang simply resorted to the best method he knew. That was to suggest beautiful clothes as woman liked this the most. Regarding this method, he has received rather good results from it. Bai Yu's elegant face turned slightly crimson and her tone also became somewhat gentler. "For now, that is not required." Su Meiyao covered her mouth with her soft hands and started laughing. She pouted her small lips and complained, "You little brat, what kind of potion did my senior sister fed you? She has more clothes than me, and I've always been so good to you as well. Yet my things are so few, you are completely biased." Chen Xiang stuck his tongue out, taking a deep breath to inhale the delicate fragrance released from Su Meiyao's body. He deliberately made a bitter face and said, "If I don't do this, how else can I make Sister Bai Yu feel superior? Humph, becoming a little more clever are we?" Bai Yu snorts and says, "Senior sister, since you're unwilling, why not give these clothes to me?" Su Meiyao teasingly said, "You're actually asking me to give them to you? We usually share our clothes with each other." Bai Yu gave her a contemptuous look. Chen Xiang knew that both beauties resided all day within a small house inside the ring. No doubt, they were bored, so he often ordered a lot of beautiful clothes and got small things for them so they don't feel too down. He did all of this so that the two beauties would feel happy. Although they were once peerless experts, they had now lost all their strength and were just ordinary girls. Bai Yu and Su Meiyao both knew how to deal with colorless and odorless poisonous gases. They soon taught Chen Xiang what they knew. It was mainly the method of how to guard his meridians using true qi. After leaving the private room, Chen Xiang came to arbor in the backyard. Meng Bo and Chen Luzhong were also here, both discussing alchemy technique. Chen Xiang joined in on their conversation and all three proceeded to exchange their experiences, which benefited all of them. "Brat, today you've once again stirred up trouble. At such a young age, it's already hard to understand you. How come you have such a knack for trouble?" Chen Luzhong shook his head and laughed. Meng Bo laughed brightly, said, "This brat is truly not ordinary. Otherwise, how could I have been defeated by him? It seems like a war between your Chen family and the Yao family is inevitable." Chen Xiang skimmed his lips and replied, "The Yao family asked for it, I think I simply did the right thing. Young Master Chen, Manager, Senior Dan King, I did not think you were all together." A tender, sweet, and soft voice drifted over as Chen Xiang's heart jumped up. This was definitely Hua Yueyun's voice. About the matter between Chen Xiang and Hua Yueyun, these two old men had guessed a few things. Otherwise, how come the Dongxiang Herbal Manor was willing to sell spirit herbs to the Dan King Hall at such a cheap price? The two old men silently left on their own as Chen Xiang's heart turned bitter. Hua Yueyun's dress was very tight today. Her beautiful jade-like body was wrapped in a long white skirt. She looked like a fairy that enchanted people's mind with elegance. She had a unique flavor. Looking at her, Chen Xiang could not help but secretly praise her again and again, but at the same time he looked somewhat distressed. Seeing Chen Xiang looking depressed, Hua Yueyun angrily said, "I know you hate me." Chen Xiang hurriedly explained, "No, it's just that elder sister Yueyun, you are too tempting that it could almost be considered a crime." Hua Yueyun suddenly became happy, as she tenderly laughed and said, "Are you worried about me? Relax, as long as you enter the Danxiang Taoyuan and become an excellent alchemist, I'm yours." Chen Xiang shook his head and said, "No. I have already said that I want to enter the extreme martial sect." Hua Yueyun snorted softly and said, "Little sweetheart, are you thinking about other people now?" Chen Xiang quickly replied, I did not. Yueyun's sister, you're really pretty, but as you know, I'm engaged to Xianxian. So if I want to have concubines, I need to get her approval as well." Hua Yueyun softly sighed, then stuck her tongue out towards Chen Xiang. Making fun of him, she said, "I do not want to be your mistress, I want to be your maidservant. Right, I'm going back to the Danxiang Taoyuan today. Why don't you come with me?" Hua Yueyun asked, her face was full of antic. 1p. Asian. Chen Xiang was surprised and replied, "Danxiang Taoyuan? I've already decided to go the extreme martial sect. Thanks for your consideration, but I'll have to decline." Do not be surprised, but each manor lord is called Hua Yueyun. I've managed the Danxiang herbal manor for 2 years. Now I must go back. I must tell you that my real name is not Hua Yueyun. Hua Yueyun said, her complexion immediately became one full of disappointment, now that she had to walk away from Chen Xiang. "I'm really sorry, but if I have the opportunity, I'll go to the Danxiang Taoyuan and find you." Chen Xiang sighed. Hua Yueyun said with a perfect smile, "Do not worry about the Danxiang herbal manor selling herbs to the Dan King Hall. Even after I'm gone, the Danxiang herbal manor will keep cooperating with the Dan King Hall, and the prices will also not increase." Chen Xiang was confused about why this girl wanted to be his maidservant. Nonetheless, he was extremely grateful to her. "Thank you. You do not need to be my maidservant, we're friends. In the future, I'll go to the Danxiang Taoyuan and look for you." Hua Yueyun laughed, said, "You do not want me as your girl, you'll certainly regret it later. Remember, you must come to the Danxiang Taoyuan and find me. For now I won't tell you my name, I don't want you finding me so easily after all." As soon as she finished speaking, she quickly went over to Chen Xiang and kissed him. Then ran away laughing, leaving Chen Xiang petrified like a stone statue. What's the matter with this woman?" Chen Xiang licked his lips that still had some remaining fragrance, making him feel inexplicably wonderful. Su Meiyao laughed softly and said, "This little Yao Jing decided to eat you. I'm still not clear how you are so fortunate. Before it was Shui Xianxian, and now this Yao Jing has taken a liking to you." Chen Xiang snorts and said in a low voice and in a very ky way, "Humph, that's because of my charm. You will understand why in the future." These days, although Chen Xiang wasn't refining pills, he had been mulating dragon saliva for growing herbs. He also started preparations for refining high-grade mortal level dawn and low-grade spirit level dawn. This was a new challenge for him, now that his strength was at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. The very next morning, Chen Xiang arrived at the entrance of the Yao family field. Today was the match between Ling Yulan and Song Nanming. One was the crown prince, while the other was the daughter of a great general. Both of their strength were at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. This sort of things made others very much look forward to their match. Chapter 53 Vicious Hidden Weapon. Chapter 53 Vicious Hidden Weapon. On one side, above the tournament stage, a handsome man wearing a golden huafu stood, while on the other side, a mature girl wearing black tights that sketched out her charming and hot figure. Although she was only a young girl, she was already peerless beauty and had remarkable grace. Furthermore, she had beautiful yet bizarre white hairs. Nonetheless, she was very attractive. As Chen Xiang watched, he fell into disbelief. In the eyes of the crown prince, Song Nanming, pure unhidden resentment could be seen. Chen Xiang was sure that there must be some deep grudge between the two. "Have you heard? This crown prince once proposed to Ling Yulan, but she actually refused. Furthermore, the crown prince then tried to take liberties with her and was slapped as a result," a man said. "I also heard that Ling Yulan kicked him in between his legs, wasting him. Later, he had to spend a large amount of spirit coins to buy an extremely good spirit herb," laughed a middle-aged man. Ha ha, this is definitely going to be fun to watch. Chen Xiang didn't expect Ling Yulan had such courage to deal with song naming in such a peculiar way. As the contest started, Ling Yulan once again transformed into a black shadow, treading above the stage. After all, this excellent qing gong was her speciality. She was moving in hyperspeed above the tournament stage, from time to time sending a slap or a kick towards song naming. Each time he either dodged or parried her attack. Song Naming's strength was also quite good, but still it was a bit lacking compared to Ling Yulan's. After all, she had the fire and ice dual vein, and was able to fuse fire true qi together with ice, resulting in a powerful and strange fusion of true qi. Although Song Nanming was able to parry her attacks, the true qi had a considerable effect on him, making his body feel as if it was sometimes hot and others cold. Additionally, he wasn't able to hit Ling Yulan because she was moving too quickly. Certainly Ling Yulan doesn't just have good martial skills, she only has this qing gong for high-speed movement. Su Meiyao said. Because of her fire and ice true qi, only a few martial skills are suitable for her. As such, she can only battle this way. In the end, she doesn't get hit by any attack, not even allowing an opportunity for the opponent to touch her. This girl is fairly clever. What Chen Xiang cultivated was a multiple-type true qi, and was also able to direct single or multiple attributes of true qi at the same time. However, Ling Yulan couldn't. She could only use the fusion of fire and ice true qi. Only a few martial art skills utilize both qis at the same time. This was very troubling for Ling Yulan. Although her true qi was terrifying, she lacked a truly suitable martial skill to demonstrate her full power. Song Nanming was still unable to hit Ling Yulan and could not help but grow irritated. He knew that if things were to continue unchanged, he would definitely lose. At this moment, Chen Xiang saw faint flashes of light suddenly flicker above the contest stage. His eyesight was extremely good. He could even see the ant's leg on the tournament stage. What he saw was a few nearly transparent needles that were protruding from Song Naming's sleeves. Ice needles! Chen Xiang silently cursed at Song Naming. Soon, he heard Ling Yulan's cold and beautiful shout. He saw that she was suddenly covering her abdomen, staring at Song Naming with a face full of anger. Song Nanming only grinned in response and in a single step, arrived in front of Ling Yulan. Emitting true qi from his legs, he fiercely kicked Ling Yulan's covered abdomen. The violent and powerful kick struck firmly on her body. Ling Yulan screamed as she flew off the tournament stage. To everyone's surprise, she managed to steadily stop herself. But her hands covering her abdomen were soaked with blood. You despicable fellow! Ling Yulan bit her lips, her eyes were filled with resentment and hate towards Song Nanming, who was still on the tournament stage. You are merely incompetent, yet you dare call me despicable? Song Nanming sneered. Ling Yulan removed her palm, her abdomen was still bleeding but there was nothing to see, she could only feel a trace of coldness. She quickly guessed it was due to an ice needle, but it had already melted. Chen Xiang arrived beside her as he took out some herbal powder and a dispelling poison dan. Speaking in a serious tone, he said, "Be careful, ice needles are often poisonous." Ling Yulan looked at the objects in Chen Xiang's hands and could not help but be surprised. She nibbled her lips and whispered, "Thank you. Don't worry. I'll make him pay for what he did to you." Chen Xiang slightly smiled towards her. Ling Yulan sighed and said, "My hopes for entering a martial sect is now shattered. Many thanks, young Master Chen, for giving me these dawn." Chen Xiang understood that in order to learn appropriate martial skills, Ling Yulan had to enter a sect and search, but now she had lost that opportunity. "Brat, give her the metal spirit fruit and make her go to the extreme martial sect. She has the rare ice and fire dual vein, the extreme martial sect will eagerly accept her." Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang was surprised to hear this while looking at Ling Yulan's slightly angry face. "Tell her that if the extreme martial sect does not accept her, she could give the metal spirit fruit in exchange for an assessment. This time it was by Yuyu's voice. They were all girls and Ling Yulan is a good seedling, they would naturally want her to have good achievements in the future. Qin Xiang whispered, Miss Ling, this poison contained within the ice needles may be serious. Could you accompany me to the Dan King Hall for further examination? Song Nanming, who was on the tournament stage, he grounded his teeth as he watched Chen Xiang and Ling Yulan interact. Song Nanming could not hear what Chen Xiang said, but he hated the fact that the two were talking to each other. Chen Xiang and Ling Yulan acted fairly nice towards each other. One is a prestigious and talented teenager, while the other was a 7th-level mortal martial realm beauty. Mutual admiration was a normal thing to occur. Ling Yulan nodded her head and left with Chen Xiang. She was also worried about the poison in the ice needles, as she could possibly die from it. On the 3rd floor of the Dan King Hall, Meng Bo's face was full of anger, declaring, very good, ruthless poison. This thing could remain hidden in someone's body for a very long time. The majority of this poison could even remain inside an individual for several months, possibly even after a year. Little girl, don't worry too much. Although this position is formidable, once it's found it's actually quite simple to remove. Meng Bo chuckled and pulled out a Dan. This is a high-grade mortal-level Dan, the cleansing core Dan. It can easily detoxify this poison. When Ling Yulan found out that Song Nanming had used such deceitful and devious means to deal with her after the compet. 1. Tian, her face was full of hatred. She looked at the Dan in Meng Bo's hand and asked in a low voice, how many spirit coins? Just eat it, there is no need to pay. Chen Xiang then took the Dan and handed it to her. Meng Bo chuckled as he left on his own cognizance. Ling Yulan had a complex expression that could be seen in her eyes as she looked at Chen Xiang. Why are you helping me? Although she had brought up the matter, she guessed that Chen Xiang might have been attracted to her beautiful face. But she also knew that Chen Xiang had a fiancé, one who was currently away in one of those martial sections, a very talented and beautiful girl. Chen Xiang laughed and said, no big reason, I just wanted to become friends. Ling Yulan swallowed the Dan and then smiled towards Chen Xiang. It was similar to a peony flower blossoming. Chen Xiang could not help but stare at her. I never thought that I would become friends with you, a genius alchemist. It's my pleasure to be friends with you. Ling Yulan's complexion became much better as she softly said, many thanks, young Master Chen. Chen Xiang shook his head in response and said, don't mention it. Here, this is a metal spirit fruit, keep it. Although Ling Yulan was not proficient in herbs, even she had heard about the metal spirit fruit. She also knew that it was this fruit that the Dan King Hall had used to recruit alchemists, but had not expected Chen Xiang to give one to her. Chapter 54. Sister. Chapter 54. Sister, edited by Sitsi. Don't ask me why. Just take it and go to the extreme martial sect. If they don't let you join, give them the metal spirit fruit in exchange for an assessment. Through this method, you can enter into the sect, as I believe that you hold all the qualifications needed to pass their examination. Chen Xiang instructed. Ling Yulan was shocked. For her, it was very hard to believe that Chen Xiang would help her in such a way. Yulan, your father, Great General Ling, was killed in battle a few years ago. It was you who has had it hard these past few years. How about we become sworn brother and sister? After I also enter the extreme martial sect, I will take care of you. Chen Xiang's heart was moved when he remembered Ling Yulan's life experience. Watching her, anyone would feel pity and compassion towards her, as they couldn't help but have such feelings. Ling Yulan also became startled. She nibbled her lips as her eyes suddenly became moist. Yet, she faced Chen Xiang, smiled and said, little sister greets elder brother. Chen Xiang grinned. Yulan, you have the fire and ice veins. After you enter the martial arts sect, your future prospects are boundless. I'll help you in any way I can. Before, Leng Yulan was a little wary about Chen Xiang, but any of her suspicions and other thoughts had vanished in a puff of smoke. She now knew that, with Chen Xiang's current status, he could get any girl he wished for. It would be very idiotic of him to tarnish his reputation just because of a matter between a man and a woman. Although Chen Xiang and Leng Yulan had just recently met, they were concerned about each other, almost as if they had known each other for a long time. And today, they had met and recognized each other as equals. Chen Xiang was helping her, and essentially showering her with love. She was extremely moved, as this was the first time that someone had shown such care for her after her father's death. They had only met each other for the first time, yet she had already received so much help. Therefore, Leng Yulan was very happy to become Chen Xiang's sister. From the moment she had heard about him, she was impressed by Chen Xiang's strength, almost to the point of secretly wars. Ping him. Brother, I'll always remember your kindness today. I'll be on my way. My body situation is slightly complicated at the moment. I don't want to delay any longer. Remember to teach that ruthless Song Nanming a lesson he won't forget. Leng Yulan said as she smiled at Chen Xiang. Yulan, hold on. Be sure to be careful on the way. Chen Xiang then set her a small jade bottle. Inside of it were several very good pills, solidifying Leng Yulan's feelings of gratitude. Leng Yulan's father was killed 3 years ago in battle. For all these years she had been living alone. It was very difficult for her, however. Trying to elevate her strength alone showed that she was a very strong girl. Leng Yulan's eyes once again moistened up. She nodded and said, "Please accept Yulan's salute." Chen Xiang immediately went to hug her, laughingly saying, "My dear sister, I forbid you to do such things. Be careful on your way to the martial sect. I'll become a lot stronger. Brother, you must remember to look for me." Leng Yulan wiped her tears away, as the feelings of receiving somebody's love and concern had made her feel very moved once again. I'll certainly come." Chen Xiang stroked her silky white hair. "Brother, what if I don't go just yet? I know there is some hatred between you and the Yao family. Perhaps I can be of help." Leng Yulan restored her previous cold and proud demeanor, her whole body full of vigor. With her warlike intentions soaring, she resembled a valkyrie. But watching Chen Xiang, her expression was soft. Chen Xiang shook his head, smiled and said, "No, my Chen family can easily deal with it. Your health is more important." Leng Yulan bit her lips, firmly saying, "Brother, later I'll fight side by side with you. I won't drag you down." Chen Xiang was very pleased with her reply. He nodded his head and asked, "You know the way?" "I know. I have been gathering information about all of the sects long ago. Although the route is somewhat dangerous, I can handle it. There is no need for you to worry," Leng Yulan said. Chen Xiang accompanied Leng Yulan out of the city. Here, he sat down and watched as she rode away on a horse. In the afternoon, it was Chen Xiang's turn to compete. But when he went to the tournament stage, he was told his compet. 1. Tor had abstained, which made him feel somewhat weird. After the display of Chen Xiang's strength, in addition to the BLOODY display he had made yesterday when he had killed Yao Chong, everyone was afraid of Chen Xiang's strength and the fear was still lingering in their minds. In the finals, Chen Xiang was going to be facing the Crown Prince, Song Nanming. The audience was extremely looking forwards towards this match. For many people, the Crown Prince's strength was unfathomable, because of how he had defeated Leng Yulan. Additionally, he was, after all, the Crown Prince of the Southern Martial Empire. As such, he had a gigantic number of resources and could learn various powerful martial skills. But Chen Xiang knew that Song Nanming's strength was inferior to Leng Yulan. It was only because of his dirty tricks that he had won. Chen Xiang had already decided that as long as the Crown Prince used ice needles against him, he would act mercilessly. The Dan King Hall had already been opened for a few days. It was also very popular, stealing away a lot of the Yao family's business. Chen Xiang was concerned about the Chen family elder, Chen Furong. He hadn't taken any action yet, even though Chen Xiang had just killed one of the important Yao family's juniors yesterday. Taking into account Chen Furong's previous actions, he should be looking to cause trouble for the Dan King Hall. Chen Xiang was sure he was up to no good. He also received a message from his father that the majority of the Chen family's experts were on their way to the King City. Furthermore, they were coming secretly. Late at night, Chen Xiang was cultivating in a private room, when he suddenly sensed the breathing of several people at the 8th level of the mortal martial realms appearing inside the Dan King Hall. He was awakened by this and quickly left his private room, heading towards the source of the breath. "Dad!" Chen Xiang was surprised as he looked at the other people present. In the group, there were 2 middle-aged men, the other 3 being rather old. Uncle Ihan, Great Uncle Haohai, Great Elder, Second Elder, and Third Elder. Chen Xiang was shocked in his heart as he quickly saluted these elders. Excluding Chen Haohai, Elder Chen Ihan, the other 3 were at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Yet now they had already entered the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. TLN. I don't know about other, but in my translation Great Elder, Great Uncle, Great Brother as such means eldest brother, uncle and such. Smelly brat. You certainly put my 1,000-year-old blood spirit GRASS to good use. Chen Haohai laughed merrily. He was quite sorrowful on the day that he had lost that herb. But now, when he saw that the Dan King Hall had flourished to such a degree, he felt surprised and delighted. Chen Ihan smiled. His smile was somewhat gentle while at same time somewhat sinister, as he said, "I didn't expect that you could establish a Dan shop in such a short amount of time. Moreover, drawing in the Dan King, our Chen family will certainly be able to become one of the strongest families in the Southern Martial Empire." The other 3 elders also praised him abundantly. One bald old man said, "The Yao family was greatly resisting and blocking our Chen family's entry into King City, among them was Chen Furong. Great Elder is correct. Fortunately for us, we made contact with an ancestor of our Chen family. He helped us break through to the 8th level of the mortal martial realm using spirit level dawn. He cannot meddle in secular worldly matters, so he let us clean out the house and handle Chen Furong." The second elder made a killing gesture. Chen Xiang frowned, asking, "How strong is Chen Furong? How many Chen family members have come?" Chen Tianhu answered, "We brought 300 elite disciples, who are all above the 4th level of the mortal martial realm, while we few old men also came to help." Chen Tianhua was also at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, and now there are 6 Chen family martial artists who were at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Counting in Chen Xiang, that number was raised to 7. According to the structures of power in the Southern Martial Empire, their strength was quite astonishing. HI plus ing. Chen Furong is estimated to be at the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Thus, 6 of us together may just barely be able to balance it out," the Great Elder said with a somewhat serious expression. Chen Xiang smiled slightly. "If our Chen family and the Yao family go to war, you just have to handle the Yao family, leave Chen Furong to me." Chen Tianhu suddenly stood there blankly, as the jaws of the 3 elders were almost touching the ground. "My dear son, have you entered the 9th level of mortal martial realm?" Chen Tianhu asked. He was astonished, and it was clearly visible on his face. Chen Xiang slightly pursed his lips, saying, "I'm just at the 8th level of mortal martial realm, but I think I'll be able to hold Chen Furong for quite a while. That way, you elders, with your overwhelming strength, will be able to completely decimate the Yao family." Chen Tianhu let loose a long breath. If Chen Xiang had entered into the 9th level of the mortal martial realm at his age, then he himself, as well as the other old men, should just go die in a handful of water. Thankfully, Chen Xiang had only entered into the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, which still gave them a big surprise. They also knew that his strength couldn't be defined by common norms. After all, when Chen Xiang was merely in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, he was already able to defeat Chen Yihan, who was in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Remembering this fact, the Chen family experts all shuddered. Chen Tianhu and the others soon left. They still had to secretly lead the 300 elites to the Yao family's tournament field tomorrow. Meanwhile, Chen Xiang was still adjusting himself to get to his most optimum state, so that he was prepared to cope with various situations that could occur tomorrow. Chapter 55. Dragon Martial Technique. Chapter 55. Dragon Martial Technique. The weather was sunny in the mornings, as usual. King City was very lively. Many people learned that there was only the final round left of the King City martial art tournament. However, even after that, there was one more hurdle to pass. One of the martial arts sect's disciple was also going to compete. Only after winning against that disciple could someone be considered the victor of the entire tournament. Hearing this new piece of information, Chen Xiang secretly cursed in his heart. He guessed that it must have been because of Chen Furong. He must have disappeared from King City to recruit someone for this specific purpose, just so that Chen Xiang could not be considered the true winner of the King City martial art tournament. Rest assured, it is impossible for an inner disciple to partake. 1p. 8. They don't have that much spare time. If I have to guess, it will probably be a relatively strong outer sect disciple. Most likely it will be someone around the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Su Meiyao said. She and Bai Yuyu were very clear about the inner proceedings of sections. That's good. I hope that they are not too disappointing. Chen Xiang's fighting spirit soared in his heart. At the Yao family's main entrance, tens of thousands of people had already gathered. This was the finals of the tournament. Besides, it was the compet. 1. Tie-in between two young juniors, both of which very prestigious and strong young men. Among the crowd, Chen Tianhu, Chen Yihan, Chen Haohai and others had already hidden themselves. They each commanded 50 Chen family elite juniors. As soon as there was any sign of trouble, they were ready to take action. As Chen Xiang came over to the middle of the tournament stage, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. Surprisingly, he actually dared to come. I heard that the Yao family will take him away right after he wins the finals. One man said with a surprise. It is said that he has something to do with the disappearance of the Yao family elder and their young genius. The Yao family will probably pin that crime on him as an excuse to deal with him. Another middle-aged man said. He already has so much courage at such young age. 2 days before, he faced the Yao family elders after Ma's sacring Yao Chong. Chen Xiang's strength is also good, and he also dares to fearlessly threaten others regardless of their background. One teenager said, full of envy. Of course, in this world, strength has always have been revered. As long you have strength, you can have everything. Listening to the arguments and conversations from the audience, Chen Xiang knew that the Yao family had deliberately released some information. This gave off the message that they were prepared to deal with the Chen family, which also signified the start of the war between the two families. This was a very common method. Other forces would often release such information to warn and threaten their opponent. Not far away from the tournament stage, there was a tower. On the top of that tower, there were many luxuriously dressed people residing in a room. Many maids and guards were present around them. From this alone, one could tell that their status was definitely out of the ordinary. The Southern Martial Empire's emperor is also watching the finals. I heard he is here to boost the morale of his son, and that he has also bought many imperial palace experts. In fact, even all of the imperial concubines have come here to watch the finals. Chen Xiang's eyesight was very formidable. Among the people seated in the tower, he could see a person wearing the dragon robe star. He had a majestic expression. That middle-aged man with the extraordinary bearing was no doubt the emperor of the Southern Martial Empire. For the common populace, the imperial power was way above them. But for the powerful families, they were simply not worth mentioning. In the eyes of those families, the emperor was just someone who manages the empire, so that it can develop in an orderly phase. On. There was not any kind of disarray among the populace, so these families could smoothly gain benefits from the common SSES. The crown prince arrived as he flew from that distant tower. He was wearing a fiery red and magnificent dress, displaying the elegant Qing Gong skill he had. Softly, he landed on the tournament stage. His arrival alone caused many girls present to scream out. Chen Xiang was secretly belittling him in his heart, thinking, "Look at you, seeming so imposing. Just wait, I will beat you so hard that even your father, the emperor, will not recognize you afterwards." Song Nanming looked at Chen Xiang with disdain in his eyes and calmly said, "If you want to relieve yourself from physical suffering, there is still some time." Song Nanming knew how strong Chen Xiang was, but Song Nanming was also very confident about his victory. Chen Xiang, looking at that arrogant and sinister face of Song Nanming, guessed that he definitely had another despicable trick up his sleeve. This time, Chen Xiang was cautious and ready, otherwise he would be on the back foot again. "Rest assured, I'm very thick-skinned. I'm afraid your hand will hurt if you hit me." Chen Xiang replied. It sounded sarcastic, but what he said was the truth. "Humph, you don't know the immensity of the heavens." Song Nanming coldly snorted. He intentionally raised his voice, making it so that everyone on the whole field could hear it. Seeing Song Nanming putting on a high and mighty act, Chen Xiang secretly smiled in his heart. If you don't have necessary strength, everything said and done was all completely useless. Start. If someone violates the rules, you can already figure out the consequences. One old man wearing a gray robe shouted. He was not a member of the Yao family, but rather one of oldest martial artists. It is said that he was the descendant of the founder of the martial art tournament. Song Nanming had already violated the rules before, but there was no evidence, so Chen Xiang could not do anything or point it out. At the start, Song Nanming faced the audience as he took off his golden red dress. Inside, he was wearing golden tights and golden boot. It looked as if a wealthy Blemen had appeared on stage. "Today, I'll show you a bit of the martial skills from our Southern Martial Empire's imperial family. I'll let you experience the formidability of the dragon martial technique," shouted Song Nanming. An unusual fierce breath emanated from his body. It was similar to Chen Xiang's Azure Dragon True Qi, but was lacking in its ancient and majestic imposing aura. Dragon martial technique. This was one of the ancient martial technique. Legend had it, the technique was handed down by someone who later transformed into a divine dragon. After casting it, one would gain the same imposing manner and power as a real dragon. That said legend was certainly formidable, however. To be as formidable as dragon was very hard to believe. Watching the visible golden essence flowing in the blue veins of Song Nanming's fists, everyone could not help but gasp. They had not expected that they would be able to witness the mystical dragon martial technique in their lifetime. Chen Xiang narrowed his eyes, released his powerful and invisible divine sense. He enveloped Song Nanming's whole body, and could clearly see Song Nanming's internal organs, and was also able to observe how his true qi was circulating. Simultaneously, Chen Xiang secretly stored the whole process in his mind, and then also made his true qi flow in accordance with the previous method. I did not expect the dragon martial technique to appear in this secular world. Make sure to remember every bit of it. Su Mei Yao transmitted this order to Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang had already learned the entire technique. At this time, Song Nanming, because of the profound method of circulating his qi, had made all of his internal true qi change in order to produce a stronger and more powerful force. Dragon Aura Fist. Song Nanming fiercely leapt into the air, as if a golden aura was shot towards Qin Xiang. Song Nanming's fists quickly transformed, which had an uncanny resemblance to the eagle claws. Constantly rumbling, one after another, golden chi aura flew towards Qin Xiang, sending shock waves in the air as they flew past, followed by bursts of sonic booms one after another, as they violently struck on Qin Xiang's chest. After the golden chi aura struck Qin Xiang's chest, Song Nanming soon appeared in front of Qin Xiang. Both of their fists flew towards each other. As the two moved, only explosions followed them. Fist met fist at an extremely fast pace. From afar, it appeared as if both of them had thousands of arms. In the mere blink of an eye, a few hundred punches had already been exchanged, each filled with true qi, resulting in numerous explosions. Song Nanming threw out qi aura with each fist, and also produced a qi explosion. As such, the huge tournament stage started shaking, while the frightening sonic booms made more and more people shudder. But what made everyone dumbfounded was not the fact that Song Nanming had casted the dragon martial technique, but rather the fact that Qin Xiang's fists had met evenly with Song Nanming's blows. Furthermore, the speed of Qin Xiang's fists were exactly the same as Song Nanming's punches. Additionally, all of this was done with a relaxed expression on Qin Xiang's face. Tianlin, Long Pao, or the dragon robe are the gowns worn by the emperor in China. It is just a robe with a dragon or many dragons on it. If you are interested how it looks, you can check it out here. All of the robes shown there are Long Pao. Chapter 56 TIT for Tat. Chapter 56 TIT for Tat. The crowd was unable to clearly see the quick blows from Song Nanming. Each of them was covered in a very powerful qi aura, but Qin Xiang was able to keep up his opponent's speed. In fact, it seemed as if he was precisely judging the end location of each blow, and then accurately retaliated with his own. Qin Xiang was using the Azure Dragon True Qi. Violent lightning was flash. Hi plus ing in between the two figures, rumbling as they moved from place to place. With each counter blow, a roar could be heard, each producing its own qi aura storm. This was far more imposing and stronger than the so-called dragon aura fist from Song Nanming. The sight above the tournament stage was a dazzling sight to behold. It was as if two people were responsible for a giant parade of fireworks, except, instead of countless sparks, they were deadly explosions caused from the two's fists colliding against each other. It was Song Nanming who had first initiated the fight, but now he was gradually retreating, yet somehow he remained dignified. Both of his fists were now numb. He could sense Qin Xiang's vigorous true qi from each counterattack. But it was more than that. Song Nanming had also thought that he would be able to quickly defeat Qin Xiang by casting the Dragon Aura Fist. So Song Nanming had desperately consumed a vast amount of true qi for the martial skill. Yet it just ended up being easily repulsed by Qin Xiang. This lost ancient martial skill is not something the likes of you can use. You are simply unworthy of the dragon martial technique. Qin Xiang suddenly sneered as his blows became even more fierce. Suddenly he retreated a few steps as golden qi started to emanate from his whole body. On both of his fists, golden true qi was flowing inside his meridians, similar to what happened when Song Nanming used the dragon martial technique. But compared to the previous scene, this one seemed much more formidable. The golden aura valiantly surged, reflecting even in Qin Xiang's eyes. His hands looked like they were covered in solid gold, vaguely giving off the illusion that they had turned into vigorous and powerful eagle claws. In fact, golden scales started appearing one by one, piece by piece. Their aura valiantly surged, combining and fusing with the slaughter qi, which made it capable of shaking people's very soul. The dragon martial technique was suitable for someone who used the metal-attributed true qi. Qin Xiang's metal-attributed true qi corresponded to the white tiger. As his metal-attributed true qi carried killing intent, when he casted the dragon martial technique, His imposing manner not only combined with his threatening slaughter chi, but rather multiplied its strength. His imposing aura was not only that of slaughter and fear, but also the aura of someone who disdained the entire world. Arrogant, conceited, ignoring all world powers and influences, he stood there alone. In that distant tower, the emperor fiercely rose up from his throne. His eyes were wide open, and a clear look of astonishment could be seen in them. Looking at Chen Xiang, the emperor muttered, "Impossible! Impossible! Only we of the imperial family possess the dragon martial technique. How in the world would a brat like him learn it?" Suddenly, pure raw murderous intent appeared on the emperor's face. Inside the entire southern martial empire, we must never allow others to grasp the dragon martial technique. Only we, of the imperial family, can be considered the true descendants of the dragon race. Chen Xiang had never thought the dragon martial technique was profound or hard to master. After all, he simply followed and recreated the exact same things he saw in Song Nanming when he had operated his true chi for this technique. Albeit it was a little bit complicated, but Chen Xiang had an extremely powerful and keen divine sense. He easily perfectly memorized it and branded it onto his mind. Now that he had finally cast his new skill, an amazingly powerful aura was emitted throughout his entire body. You! How could you? Where in the world did you learn this? Only those of us who have the dragon blood inheritance are able to learn it. A mere mortal like you. His words weren't even completely finished before Chen Xiang took a step, which erupted into a loud explosion. In fact, even the tournament stage that had been made of thick wood was suddenly crushed, completely collapsing under the tyrannical might of this single step. Smoke and dust scattered in all directions, shocking the hell out of everybody watching. This level of frightening power caused everyone close to the stage to retreat. They feared their lives would be in danger if they stayed too close. Although it consumes a lot of true chi, its power is equally great. Indeed, it is truly worthy of the tea of a lost ancient martial skill. Chen Xiang could not help but marvel at the strength he now possessed. He had not expected to learn this mighty martial skill. Chen Xiang had gotten a very large harvest. Song Nanming was shocked by this, but there was also hate and envy at how Chen Xiang could display the very same dragon martial technique, yet at such a more profound and powerful level. It also gave Song Nanming insight into the technique's frightening depths, yet he simply could not reach the same level of force as Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang, do not blame me. Blame yourself for showing off your ability. Song Nanming's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of a ferocious and ruthless aura. He fiercely waved his hand as 10 very fine and small needles penetrated the dense smoke of dust, flying straight towards Chen Xiang. Although smoke was flying around everywhere, Chen Xiang's divine sense was still extremely formidable. He was able to completely grasp all the movement of objects around him, including those tiny needles that were currently flying straight at him. As the needles flew towards Chen Xiang, he shouted as a sudden wall of fire appeared in front of him. This was alchemical true chi fire, which was capable of refining even the most heat-resistant materials that were harder than iron. Those tiny needles never stood a chance. Those needles instantly melted when they struck that wall of fire. The fire wall also soon vanished, shortly after the smoke started to disperse as well. With that powerful and mighty dragon chi aura surging in both his fists, Chen Xiang walked step by step towards Song Nanming. Dragon Aura Fist! Chen Xiang coldly shouted. Both of his fists crazily smashed towards his opponent. It was as if thousands of golden meteors were raining down on Song Nanming. Song Nanming was still in daze due to the fact that Chen Xiang could evade even those tiny hidden needles. Song Nanming didn't even see it coming when those dragon aura fists rained down him. In just the blink of an eye, his whole body had been struck hundreds of times by those hard golden fists. The sound of impact on his flesh was like a thunderbolt capable of shaking the heavens, yet also resembled fierce firecrackers that were successively bursting one after another. Song Nanming's whole body was attacked so fiercely and madly that every piece of his flesh, bones, and even meridians had ruptured and broken. His entire body looked like it had been squeezed together into paste. He lay there on the ground like a large piece of meat pie, somehow still alive. Technically, since he did not die, this brutal beating was not counted as a violation of the rules. However, Song Nanming could be considered to be among the living dead. From where does he resemble anything like human? There only remained a putty of rotten meat. Everyone in the field vomited. Some people were even more frightened and were also shrieking while they were vomiting. That thing did not resemble the previous arrogant, handsome and terrifying crown prince even the slightest bit. You asked for it. Chen Xiang thought that he was in the right and simply taught a very simple lesson to the arrogant crown prince. Originally, he simply wanted to defeat Song Nanming, but when he had attacked with those vicious needles, Chen Xiang erupted with fury and was unable to hold back his power as he exploded with 80% of his full strength. Nanming! A roar came from the far-off distance, yet it still shook the ears of the audience in the wide field. A very angry middle-aged man wearing long pow suddenly appeared at the side of Song Nanming, whose very condition of whether he was still alive or not was very hard to determine. This was the Southern Martial Empire's emperor, Song Wu. Everyone present on the wide field were still in a daze from the previous incident. Chen Xiang had crippled the emperor's son, and emperor is in no way weak. Maybe a big battle would erupt soon. Take the crown prince back to the imperial palace. Song Wu shouted at the two people behind him. They were the imperial palace experts, who had arrived right after Song Wu. They had previously come along with him to watch the tournament, moreover they were also very strong. Chen Xiang didn't violate any sort of rules, and as Song Nanming's father, he was also very well aware of the petty means Song Nanming used in the tournament. The emperor guessed that Chen Xiang must have found out and was annoyed. In order to prevent everyone here from discovering the petty tricks of Crown Prince, the emperor made the others to take Song Nanming back to Imperial Palace, rather than sending him to the Yao family. The emperor's reputation was more important than anything else. If the general population came to learn about how the Crown Prince resorted to deceitful tricks, then the days of ruling over the Southern Martial Empire would soon come to an end. Furthermore, if this sort of thing was found out by the Yao family, then they would use it as blackmail and threaten the emperor into doing things he did not want to do. Chen Xiang soon saw through the hidden reason in Song Wu's act. Chen Xiang simply smiled and said, "Indeed you are the monarch of a country. That decision you just made, to not keep your son in the Yao family, was brilliant. Soon you will realize that the action you just took gave you a big benefit and also saved you from a larger predicament." Song Wu coldly snorted, "It is normal to get injured while partic. 1p. Aiding in the martial art tournament, but you were too heavy-handed. You better hope the Crown Prince is all right, otherwise." After saying his threat, Song Wu quickly sped away. The emperor had not taken into account that Chen Xiang was responsible for this incident. Everyone let out a deep breath. At the same time they admired Song Wu's mind. Chapter 57 Skies Beyond Skies. Chapter 57 Skies Beyond Skies. Chen Xiang walked towards the old man who was presiding over the tournament and asked, "I am the winner of this tournament, now may I receive the rewards?" There was a perfectly visible expression of helplessness on the old man's face. He said, "I'm just presiding over the tournament, the reward is not distributed by me. The true elemental Dan is given out by the sections. You will get it once you pass through their assessment." A sliver of a smile flashed on Chen Xiang's face. Although it seemed very charming, that old man felt unbased fear and could not help but shudder. It seemed that just a moment earlier, an overwhelming slaughter chi had secretly burrowed deep into his body and soul, making him feel like death was nigh. Actually, just a moment ago, Chen Xiang was extremely angry and had inadvertently released frightening amount of slaughter qi. From the very start of this tournament, to its current end, he knew that it was manipulated by others. Even the final winner would find it very difficult to get that true elemental Dan. Chen Furong arrived, although he was one of the Chen family seniors, due to wanting to curry favor with the Yao family members in the martial sect. He wanted to prevent the development of his own family, even resorted into attacking his own family patriarch. Previously, when Chen Furong wounded Chen Tianhu, the entire Chen family, whether their position was high or low, no longer accepted Chen Furong as one of their own. Chen Furong was followed by a beautiful, delicate, and fair-skinned man. He looked very elegant and bewitching, his whole body excluding a very pure true qi. From this alone, one could tell that this martial artist's true qi was Estoni's. Hi plus Ingly vibrant and pure. Chen Xiang. I did not think you would successfully open the Dan King Hall. Moreover, you also harmed my new apprentice. Yao Chang's master was actually Chen Furong. Shut up, you traitor of the family. You are not part of our Chen family. What I want to do is my own business and none of yours. Why would my Dan shop have to get an old dog's approval? Who do you think you are? You're just an old dog who has a speciality in licking other people's shoes. Chen Xiang loudly shouted, his voice vibrating throughout the whole field. Every single one of the hidden Chen family members heard it, and their hearts relaxed. You king brat. You seek death. Chen Furong had a very red face due to his anger, and wanted nothing more than to personally come out and fight Chen Xiang. But before he could do anything, he was stopped by the man behind him. Let me and this Southern Martial Empire's strongest teenager exchange blows. I would like to see with what ability he want to take away the true elemental Dan. That man coldly said. His complexion was filled with disdain, making one feel as if he thought he was the strongest in the entire world. Chen Xiang replied back with a curt and cold tone. You both are part of sects and belong to their world. You are to only partake 1. p. 8 in those matters, yet you violate your sect rules and regulations, especially this old fart. If you win, this true elemental Dan is yours. If you lose, you have to die. The man coldly said. Why would I have to die if I lose? Chen Xiang sneered. Because no one has ever lived after a martial art contest against me, Zhang Long. Zhang Long said with a proud look. Chen Xiang burst into laughter, as if he had just heard the world's most funniest joke. Aren't you just at 8th level of mortal martial realm? In the eyes of those inner sect disciples, you're similar to dog feces. Do not think that after coming out of the sect's world, you would be my king. Do not attempt to abuse your power here. After all, from the looks of it, you do not even have enough capability to do so. Zhang Long was furious as cold qi started to rise and emanate throughout his whole body. His eyes were filled to the brim with murderous intentions. You're definitely going to die today. Chen Xiang did not know how Chen Furong found such an opinionated guy. It seemed that in his eyes, people who were not in a sect were just ants. At this time, the crowd had all retreated. A battle with an expert in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm would have a very large backlash, but at the same time they were also very excited about the upcoming match. This was because, if what they heard is true, then to get the rewards Chen Xiang had to defeat the martial arts sect's disciple. Just viewing their battle could be considered very fortunate. After all, this was a martial arts sect's disciple. No doubt, this match would give many benefits to the observing martial artists. The ground was covered with splinters of wood, which was all due to Chen Xiang's previous stomp that had destroyed the entire tournament stage. Chen Furong retreated back. He was very confident in Zhang Long. Chen Furong thought that Chen Xiang would definitely die this time, and then the Chen family would be completely annexed by the Yao family. This would lead to his relations with that Yao family member in the martial arts sect to become much better. It looks like you're older than me. Do you think winning against me right now could be considered glorious? I'm only 16 years old. Chen Xiang said with a smile, but this expression seemed like he was smiling yet not, creating a considerable paradox. If he hadn't spoke, everyone here really would have forgotten about his age. Thinking about this, everyone sighed in their hearts. Only at 16 years of age, he already had such accomplishment. This was definitely one very prestigious and powerful teenager. Fine, I'll allow you to have one move. I will stand here unmoving, but after that I'll act with no mercy. Zhang Long had just arrived and Chen Furong had told him that Chen Xiang was only in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Because Zhong Long was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, he was very disdainful of the fact that the other party was an alchemist and most certainly not focused on the martial path, so of course he is quite weak. In the regular world, anyone in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm was already considered to be one of the top martial artists. But the disciples from the martial arts sects could also absorb richer spirit qi, as well as eat spirit-grade food and dan. Their true qi exercises were also very good. With all of these factors combined, the people in the regular world could not hope to match the sect's level of martial skill. You'll let me have a single move? Chen Xiang's voice was emotionless, but he was secretly delighted in his heart. An 8th level of the mortal martial realm expert was about to be struck by his fist with no retaliation. Not to mention Zhonglong, even if it was someone in 9th level of mortal martial realm, would definitely not feel fine afterwards. Zhang Long sneered and said, "You must have to squeeze out all your power in this one attack, because it'll be the last one of your life. Afterwards, you are dead." "I'm going to attack." Chen Xiang retreated a few steps. Inside his heart he was secretly very pleased. He did not think that there would be such an arrogant idiot in this world. Zhang Long smiled disdainfully. His whole body shook a bit as a pure white mist was emitted from his body, subsequently transforming into a strong qi aura. It formed a qi cover that enveloped his whole body. The whole crowd could feel the qi aura S, H, I plus ELD and even see how STUR, DY it is. This was because when the qi S, Hi plus ELD was formed, the broken pieces of wood bordering it had instantaneously turned into powder. You sure enough have some means, but it's merely at this level. You have let me down. Chen Xiang thought in his heart, while operating the Tai Chi divine exercise, and mobilizing the 5 elements of true qi in his body. Last time, when he was in 5th level of mortal martial realm, he defeated Chen Yihan using the very same 5 elements true qi, fusing and transforming them into the universal force. This was a chaotic ancient force that has existed since the beginning of time. It was the power that formed heaven and earth. Its true might was unfathomable. However, Chen Xiang's universal force was only in embryonic stages. Yet it was still extremely terrifying. The last time he casted it, his entire body went through unbearable pain, but now it was a completely different matter. He was now in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Moreover, his body had gone through refinement in the immortal and devil pool, slowly transforming his body into an immortal and devil body. Now, his body was entirely capable of withstanding this ancient universal force. This could be said to be his ace in the hole, his strongest card which he rarely used. When he saw that the opposing party in front of him was an idiot who wanted to die, he would certainly not refuse and definitely comply with the other party's wishes. When his opponent died, he would let them know and feel with their body what was called people beyond people, skies beyond skies. TLN basically means no matter how good you think you are, there is always someone out there that is better. In the Ross it was only half of the original idiom, skies beyond skies, but I added it all. The full idiom gives a better and more complete message. The 5 elements true qis soon fused together within Chen Xiang, transforming itself into the universal force. It surged into his arms, yet did not reveal a trace of its existence. At this moment, Chen Xiang leapt and rushed towards Zhang Long. Chapter 58 Prelude of War. Chapter 58 Prelude of War. Seeing Chen Xiang come towards him, moreover, not even releasing any type of breath fluctuations, Zhang Long pursed his lips and showed a contemptuous sneer. Chen Xiang's speed was not fast. After all, he was going to attack a standing target, but upon his fist was the universal force from the fusion of 5 elements true Qis. Heavenly Tiger Storm Killing Fist. Chen Xiang arrived in front of Zhang Long. Chen Xiang's fists rumbled as they moved. Suddenly, above his 2 fists, a translucent tiger head appeared. The tiger head opened its big jaws and directly penetrated Zhang Long's proud Qi Ors. Hi plus ELD, striking unhindered on his chest. The Qi Hi plus ELD was broken in an instant. Both Chen Furong and Zhang Long were fiercely startled in their hearts, but before either of them could react, the fist had already arrived in front of Zhang Long. Chen Xiang's fist, which contained that mysterious power, struck flatly on Zhang Long's chest. As the fist landed on Zhang Long's chest, he felt an endless amount of power madly Gus. Hi plus ing into his body and decimating every inch of his body as quickly as possible. In that very moment, he felt various kinds of pain exploding throughout his body, and then lost his consciousness, lost forever from this world. The entire crowd was petrified like statues, but they also could not help but continuously replay the scene from just a moment ago in their minds. Chen Xiang blasted his fist, penetrating that formidable Qi Hi plus ELD, as it struck unhindered on Zhang Long's chest. Instantly, a blood mist burst out from where his body used to be, exploding from within. It was like his body was a tomato that had just been ruthlessly squashed on the ground, flattened into a red muse. Plus just one fist from Chen Xiang and Zhang Long, who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, became meat putty. That blood mist was still floating within the wide field, drifting with the wind, intermittently exuding a fishy smell. This caused a feeling of nausea to rise within everyone's throat. The crowd watching were shocked to their very core. This scene had forever etched itself into their minds. Chen Xiang looked indifferent. Humph, he snorted in low voice, waving his hand and releasing his true Qi fire, burning that meat putty on the ground. Afterwards, he picked up Zhang Long's storage pouch and threw it into his. I defeated the sect disciple, now give me the true elemental Dan. Chen Xiang looked coldly at Chen Furong. Although he had killed Zhang Long, Chen Xiang knew in his heart that he would not be punished. In his opinion, such a proud, arrogant and supercilious guy would never be acknowledged by any of the martial arts sects. Not to mention the fact that Zhang Long had violated their rules and abused his powers in the regular world. Chen Furong's white eyebrows were madly twitching, with bloodshot eyes. He looked grim and terrifying. He was furious. He had not expected Chen Xiang to be so strong. Only one punch, and Zhang Long had exploded from within. Even for Chen Furong, this feat would be very difficult to achieve. I cannot give it to you, Chen Furong yelled. Why? Chen Xiang coldly and forcefully asked. It is because you killed Yao Tianhua and also a Yao family elder. Due to killing members from the martial art tournament managing family, you cannot be rewarded. Chen Furong loudly shouted, sending the audience into an uproar. Previously, they had not thought Yao Tianhua was killed by Chen Xiang. Yet now, everyone did not doubt a single bit of it, because Chen Xiang's strength explained everything. You have no evidence, do not speak irresponsibly, Chen Xiang indifferently said. Considering just the relations, Hi plus P between him and the Yao family, even if nothing had been revealed, the Chen and Yao family would still go to war. It was just a matter of time. Chen Furong sneered. By using an ancient secret method, we have collected Yao Tianhua's residual spirit. He told us himself, do you want to hear? After speaking, Chen Furong showed a palm-sized yellow paper with various patterns on it. Upon seeing it, Chen Xiang was very surprised because he knew this was a talisman. It was a very rare, mystical and frightening thing. Only a few people knew how to make such a thing. Talisman experts, he had often heard Su Meiyao and Bai Yu mentioning them. Even those two mysterious beauties constantly longed for this vocation. Chen Furong read a spell and poured his true qi into the talisman. Immediately after, the pattern above the talisman suddenly lit up, and everyone heard a very terrifying voice, "Chen Xiang killed us, Chen Xiang killed us." The voice sounded like it originated from H.E.L., extremely terrifying and full of resentment. Hearing it, everyone felt a cold S.H.I. plus for running down their spines. "What do you have to say now?" Chen Furong coldly said. He finally revealed his trump card, which can intensify the conflict between the Chen and Yao family, urging the two families into a full-scale war. As long as he helped the Yao family eliminate the Chen family, then the Yao family would no doubt be very grateful to him. With such irrefutable evidence confirming Chen Xiang killed Yao Tianhua, everyone was very shocked. Originally, a few people were still uncertain, but now that uncertainty had vanished in puff of smoke. "Correct, I killed Yao Tianhua and that Yao family elder," Chen Xiang calmly said. Everyone admired the fact that he can be so calm even at this moment. The Yao family will fight with the Chen family until one of us has been exterminated." A middle-aged man with a striking resemblance to Yao Tianhua jumped out and yelled. This was the Yao family patriarch, Yao Hong. "They were the ones who first tried to kill me. They even sent sins. On that day, we of the Chen family hosted a banquet and invited many major families. Yao family wanted to create trouble and sent various sins to kill the other family's children. Through this method, you wanted the other families to become hostile to our Chen family," Chen Xiang gloomily said. Although he had no conclusive evidence, every single word he said was the truth. Slanderous accusations. The Yao family would never do such a thing," Yao Hong shouted. He knew that Chen Xiang didn't have any evidence. The Yao family's sins worked very discreetly and made sure to cover up their track. Chen Xiang smiled coldly before his body suddenly disappeared and reappeared in front of an old man. This old man was one of the Yao family elders. Although this elder could feel somebody coming near him, he failed to act in time. Chen Xiang's actions were far faster. With a single move he scattered his opponent's true qi. "Do not come near me or I'll kill him," Chen Xiang said. His palm struck the head of that Yao family elder and stunned him. The Yao family elders were the source of the Yao family's strength, so the Yao family members did not dare act rashly. "Chen Xiang, you are definitely dead today. If you surrender yourself, I'll make sure to leave your corpse intact," Chen Furong threatened. However, he could not act, otherwise Chen Xiang may very well kill the Yao family elder, and then Chen Furong would be held responsible for it. Everyone thought that Chen Xiang grabbed the Yao family elder as a hostage, but it was far from the truth. He just wanted to use Bai Yu's strange martial skill on the Yao family elder, which could control the consciousness of the other party and make them speak the truth. Chen Xiang poured his divine sense into the Yao family elder's head, and operated the qi according to that peculiar exercise. The Yao family elder then fell into a sluggish state. "I ask you, was it your Yao family who had sent sins to kill the major family's children?" Chen Xiang asked. "Yes," that Yao family elder replied. Hearing the answer, Yao Hong's complexion suddenly became very ugly as the entire field burst into clamor. Before, when they heard Chen Xiang, they didn't believe a single bit of it. But now, when a Yao family elder admitted to the fact, it was very hard not to believe. "Why?" Chen Xiang continued with his interrogation. "Because the Chen family forces were slowly but steadily growing. Once the Chen family stepped into the Dan business, it would threaten our Yao family. So we took the advantage of major families parting. 1. P. Aiding in the Chun family banquet and tried to kill those families' children, making them hostile towards the Chun family. By doing this, it will be beneficial to our Yao family. That Yao family elder replied. Chen Xiang sneered and said, Ladies and gentlemen, the Yao family has done many despicable things. Our Chun family, in order for the general population to get low-costing dawn, founded the Dan King Hall. Yet the Yao family vigorously tried to stop us from opening Dan King Hall. Their purpose is evidently clear and very simple. They want to continue gaining everybody's hard-earned spirit coins, making sure you select their Yao family's high-priced Dan shop. Chapter 59 The Battle Starts. Chapter 59 The battle starts. Yao Hong was furious. He shouted, Chen Xiang, in the end, what strange demonic technique did you use to control our Yao family elder? Chen Xiang, you killed our Yao family's peerless genius and now you even want to slander our Yao family. We, the Yao family, must eradicate your Chen family. Chen Xiang coldly laughed and replied, Yao Tianhua a peerless genius? Is that why he lost to me? Also, I acted all alone. Why must you pull in my Chen family? It seems that your Yao family is really worried about our Chen family affecting your Dan business. At this time, every single person in the crowd had already cursed the Yao family multiple times. When the Dan King Hall had just been opened, it was immediately trashed before it could even do business. A lot of people knew about this, and now listening to Chen Xiang say it, they felt what the Yao family did was truly very insidious. Chen Xiang, release him. You're a martial artist, so let us fight it out fair and square. Chen Furong had a new outlook on Chen Xiang's strength. Even one of the Yao family elders was unable to resist one of Chen Xiang's moves and was instantly held hostage. Chen Xiang coldly said, Chen Furong, you're no longer a Chen family member. You were already expelled from our Chen family. You're just a traitor to the Chen family, and according to our rules, any traitor must die. After he finished speaking, Chen Xiang's palm struck the Yao family elder's head, which was like chipping a watermelon. It instantly got torn apart and the gray matter of his brain splashed in all directions. Watching this scene, everyone was stunned. Committing such an action was nothing short of a declaration of war from Chen Xiang to the Yao family. Humph, anyway I've already killed 2 of the Yao family members. Ping one more is nothing. Chen Xiang calmly stated. The Yao family was very strong, yet Chen Xiang was now standing alone in front of the Yao family. With how Chen Xiang was acting, he was simply seeking death. As expected, Yao Hong roared, surround him, I want him hacked into pieces. Chen Xiang, this is what you asked for. Chen Furong knew that he had committed a grave crime and was d.a.m. Ned as a traitor, but he was not afraid of it. He believed in the regular world, only a few people in the Chen family could overpower him. Chen Xiang was suddenly surrounded by several old men. These old men were the Yao family elders, 2 of which were in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Yao Hong was also at the 8th level of mortal martial realm. However, Chen Xiang was still just calmly standing there. A lot of people on the field quickly retreated, but around 300 or so did not move. Yao Hong calmly gazed over these 300 or so people. The true qi emanating from some of those people were not weak at all. These people were not pushovers. Chen Tianhu. Chen Furong recognized one of them and immediately shouted. When he saw several other experts from the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, his heart could not help but beat like crazy. Before, when he went back to the Chen family, he did not find such experts present. Traitor! Today is the day you die. Chen Tianhu took out a broadsword with a tiger head-shaped hilt while walking towards Chen Xiang's location. The Chen family had actually arrived at the Yao family entrance. No one expected this, and even more so that they would bring along with 300 people. Nonetheless, the Yao family experts were now feeling a lot of pressure, because the other side had 6 experts in 8th level of the mortal martial realm, while they only had 4. Mr. Chen, this, Yao Hong glanced at Chen Furong. Chen Furong was in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, and he was backing up the Yao family. This was why they dared to go to war with the Chen family. Leave it to me. Chen Furong sneered and immediately floated, flying towards Chen Tianhu. At this time, Chen Xiang suddenly disappeared from his location as he leapt fiercely up into the air, arriving in front of Chen Furong. Chen Xiang proceeded to roar, as a large amount of lightning and wind aura azure true qi surged out from his mouth. Accompanied by a terrifying roar of an angry dragon, this aura drowned Chen Furong. Kill all the Chen family members. Leave no one alive. Yao Hong shouted. At this time, Chen Tianhu, along with his tiger-head broadsword and 50 other strong Chen family members, rushed towards Yao Hong. Everyone's slaughter qi soared as true qi exploded from within their bodies. Watching their patriarch personally take action, every other Chen family member was reluctant to fall behind. Everyone madly roared, facing the sky, and took out their broadswords. In front of thousands of Yao family members, all the Chen family members marched forward with a steady pace. The roar of 300 Chen family members resounded throughout King City. With each step, the entire field also shook. They were the elites of Chen family and were completely unafraid of death. They were selected to protect the Chen family, and they would never hesitate to defend their own family. 300 people against thousands. The Yao family had far more people. The distant crowd could not help but get roused and cheer for the Chen family from the side. Chen Xiang and Chen Furong fought, as the 300 Chen family members and thousands of Yao family members also start fighting. Both battles broke out at the same time, and various roars were mixed together. The entire battlefield was confusing and chaotic. Only an instant had passed said after the battle started, yet more than half of the bricks in entire field had already been destroyed. As long as Chen Furong was occupied with him, Chen Xiang was not worried about Chen Tianhu and others, because they were in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Furong, after suffering the azure dragon roar in the sky, had a dignified complexion. This was because he was absolutely sure that Chen Xiang's strength was at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Xiang was only 16 years old, having lived in the regular world with very scarce resources, yet has still managed to reach such a level. Not to mention that he was also an alchemist. Chen Xiang, I have to admit you are very talented. But this is your matter, the Chen family's matter, and no longer has anything to do with me. I am only doing this to gain benefits in the sect. If I help the Yao family here, I'll obtain various advantages in the true martial sect, therefore I must kill you. I already do know have any sense of belonging, and I hate the Chen family. Chen Furong sternly shouted with a smile. Chen Xiang maintained total silence as he fused his internal 5 elements of true qi. Facing a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert, who came from a martial arts sect, he could only rely on the universal true qi to defeat this opponent. Everyone knew that people from the martial arts sets came to watch the King City martial art tournament to select a disciple. Those people were all at least in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. This kind of strength, in the Southern Martial Empire, was extremely rare, and their level of strength was also very terrifying. At such a young age, Chen Xiang was going to face one of these experts. A lot of people were also looking forward to this, as Chen Xiang's strength was also unfathomable. Just a moment ago, he had killed a martial arts sect's disciple who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm with a single punch. Humph, I did not expect the Chen family members to be such idiots. You are sending a mere brat to contain me. If it were those 6 experts in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, then perhaps you would have had an opportunity to escape. But now you can only die along with them. The Chen family is finished. From Chen Furong's body, a red true qi emerged, covering his hands and feet as his eyes gradually reddened up. Seeing this, Chen Xiang retreated a few steps. For the first time, he was going to fight with a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. This was one of the strongest enemies he had ever faced. Sensing the level of true qi, Chen Xiang gradually became more and more dignified. Chapter 60 The White Tiger Divine Fist. Chapter 60 The White Tiger Divine Fist. The Yao family had a lot of people, but when compared to the Chen family's 6th level mortal martial realm experts and their 300 or so elites, their overall strength was weaker. The Yao family members were slowly losing their ground as they were forced inside the Yao family estate, but that strong giant door of the Yao family was blasted to smithereens by Chen Tianhu as the Chen family forced their way through. Meanwhile, that giant field outside had been turned into Chen Xiang and Chen Furong's personal battlefield. Chen Furong's hands and feet were wrapped in that red true qi. Moreover, a wild and savage breath could be sensed emanating from them. The red true qi covering both his hands slowly started to take shape, resembling a beast's. With 2 strong and thick arms with sharp claws, it looked very frightening. His legs were also the same, all his limbs were also wrapped in the red true qi, and surprisingly, all of them had been transformed into that of a beast's, which looked extremely tough. Waves of strong and fierce true qi flew towards Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang retreated a few steps while frowning. He looked at Chen Furong and noticed that both of his eyes had completely turned red, resembling that of a fierce wolf. Is this the true form of the 9th level of mortal martial realm? Chen Xiang said in his heart. The 9th level of mortal martial realm was the true form realm. Depending on the individual's cultivating exercise, a form was congealed from true qi in their dantian. Ordinarily, these can be divided into 2 common types. One is the bird or beast form, while the other was a weapon form. Of course, there are other types of forms, such as lotus, star, or lightning form. Every single one of these are determined according to their cultivation exercise. If the true qi congealed out a bird or beast form, then you could use the special power of that anima. If one congealed out a weapon, then they could form a very powerful weapon apparition. If at that time they were also using a weapon, then the weapon apparition and the one they were holding would fuse together, becoming even more powerful. Right in front of Chen Xiang, Chen Furong had actually congealed a wolf type from his true qi. Angry Wolf Fist. Chen Furong blasted a fist in air. Immediately after, the place where he stood was unable to withstand the sudden release of powerful and violent true qi. His feet formed 2 craters as he punched out. A red light also broke out. This red light burst open in blink of an eye into countless wolf heads with their jaws wide open, forming a make HI plus FT wall as they closed in on Chen Xiang. These wolf heads created from true qi contained tyrannical force. Chen Xiang was sure if he was HIT directly, he would still suffer heavily despite his powerful body. Chen Xiang sent out a shove of his hand and gathered the universal true qi from his dantian and released outwards. That qi aura cemented a wall which stood firmly in front of him. The universal true qi was created by fusing the 5 elements of true qi, yet it was colorless and invisible. It could be considered to be transparent, but people could still sense its peculiar vibe. The numerous wolf heads created from true qi came flying towards Chen Xiang, releasing waves after waves of qi. After the ground came in contact with the qi waves, it was blasted into many pieces. Those numerous true qi filled violent wolf heads struck the qi aura wall that was protecting Chen Xiang's body. The strength of both true qis were quite similar as their clash resulted in a thunderous roar. Due to the collision, a qi shockwave was created. It was similar to an undulated wave that spread all 4 directions. The bricks within the wide field shook along with the qi wave, which in turn were smashed into powder one after another. The original field, which was entirely covered with bricks, had now become an uneven ground of mud. In front of Chen Xiang, an even deeper crater had been formed. When Chen Furong saw that his initial attack failed to do anything, he immediately flew over. Those giant wolf-like legs of his treaded on the ground. Along his path, many small craters appeared. With each step he took, it shook the ground along with thunderous sounds. It was as if a giant angry elephant was madly ing through the field. Chen Furong was shocked by the fact that Chen Xiang was capable of even releasing a bizarre and powerful true qi that could even withstand such an attack. But Chen Furong still believed that no matter what happened, Chen Xiang was still just a 8th level of mortal martial realm teenager. Whether it was Chen Xiang's combat experience, or how vibrant his true qi was, neither of those could even be compared with Chen Furong's. He was completely confident in his victory. Arrogant little brat. Today I'll send you off to heaven. Chen Furong grinned ferociously as he fiercely jumped out. Both of his legs stuck close together as they emitted a red light. Quick as lightning, he diagonally slammed down from high above. You're just a wolf, nothing more than a mangy mutt. What's so impressive about that? Chen Xiang sneered. Watching Chen Furong falling down from the sky, the universal true qi gathered around Chen Xiang's fists as he simultaneously released slaughter qi. He punched out his fists lightning fast. As his attack cut through the air, a thunderous tiger roar resounded. White Tiger Divine Fist. Chen Xiang welcomed Chen Furong's slam attack, which was similar to an immense mountain falling down. As the attack ended, Chen Xiang's fist struck on the dead center of Chen Furong's soles. Suddenly, a tiger's roar soared into the sky. As the qi waves swept forth in all directions, the sand was blown away from the blast, and a few cracks could also be seen on the ground. Chen Furong thought that his attack would simply destroy all of Chen Xiang's defense and plunge him into a dead end. Who could have thought that in a blink of an eye Chen Furong's foot would suddenly be struck by an immense and unfathomable amount of force that smashed into his whole thigh. His leg had already been utterly decimated under Chen Xiang's White Tiger Divine Fist. The entire crowd was horrified, and to their shock, Chen Furong's leg appeared withered as if all its vital essence had been extracted. This was White Tiger Divine Fist's formidability. This was also the first time Chen Xiang had used this skill. After using it, not only did a frightening power burst out, but it released an seemingly endless amount of slaughter qi, engulfing all of the vitality from the opposite party. Old mutt. This is the consequence of underestimating an enemy, Chen Xiang coldly said before he suddenly appeared right in front of Chen Furong. Chen Furong felt a mix of surprise, anger and hate, all at the same time. He still did not know what type of true qi Chen Xiang had used just a moment ago. Chen Furong had never seen or even heard of such a thing. This true qi appeared to be without any attribute similar to a physical force, yet at the same time it wasn't. Do not be complacent, now you're also burned out. Chen Furong blasted his fist, countering Chen Xiang's blow. He believed that Chen Xiang had completely exhausted his true qi for that attack from just a moment ago. After all, Chen Xiang was only at 8th level of mortal martial realm, and his true qi was bound to not be as vigorous as Chen Furong's. But Chen Furong was completely, horribly wrong. His fist rumbled as he punched out, but Chen Xiang just counter-attacked Chen Furong with yet another, White Tiger Divine Fist. And just like before, a tiger roar could be heard again as an immense power burst out and surged into Chen Furong's arm, completely destroying it. Due to the impact force, Chen Furong flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. He had not only lost a leg and an arm, but also, just a moment ago, Chen Xiang had violently shook Chen Furong's 5 zhang and 6 fu with the help of White Tiger Divine Fist. TLN. 5 zhang and 6 fu and nothing more than the internal organs. In Chinese medicine 5 zhang are heart, liver, spleen, lung and kidney, while 6 fu are small intestine, large intestine, gallbladder, urinary bladder, stomach and sanjiao. Sanjiao is the meridians connecting the major organs. In future I will continue to use 5 zhang and 6 fu, it just basically means internal organs. The crowd watching was shocked. That white tiger divine fist from Chen Xiang was not only completely overbearing, but the slaughter chi gave off an oppressive pressure. Everyone assumed that this level of attack should consume a large amount of true chi and could be cast out once was already formidable enough. However, no one thought that Chen Xiang could still cast it again with such ease. Once again a sandstorm was created in the field as Chen Xiang slowly walked towards Chen Furong. In an unemotional, yet angry tone, he said, "You wounded my father, sent people to trash Dan King Hall, and also collaborated with the Yao family to destroy our Chen family. I will not let such a traitor die so easily." Chapter 61, Foregone Conclusion. Chapter 61, Foregone Conclusion. Chen Xiang was in the beginner stage of the immortal and devil body. He also had the heaven-defying yin and yang divine vein, and an immensely powerful divine exercise. Due to all these factors, at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, he had the strength to defeat a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. Even Chen Xiang didn't expect that the universal true chi, created from fusing the 5 elements of true chi, would be so frightening. He was also shocked speechless by the power released when using the divine exercise of the 4 symbols. What are you going to do? I'm a true martial sect's disciple. If you, when Chen Furong saw the slaughter chi soaring from Chen Xiang, Chen Furong finally realized that death was in front of him. Despite Chen Xiang destroying both an arm and a leg, Chen Furong could still not accept the fact that Chen Xiang was stronger than him. Impossible. Impossible. I am in the 9th level of the moral martial realm. Only a 10th level of mortal martial realm expert can beat me. You're only 16 years old, you can't possibly be in the 10th level of mortal martial realm. Chen Furong panicked while speaking, at the same time struggling to crawl away on the ground. Chen Xiang coldly said, "If I was in 10th level of mortal martial realm, you would have just become meat putty on the sidewalk. Go to hell." After he finished speaking, Chen Xiang roared as true chi burst out of his mouth accompanied by azure lightning. It was madly flas. Hi+ing within the storm and accompanied by a strong wind aura. It was as if the powerful true chi was a waterfall falling from the 9th heaven as it struck Chen Furong's body. Thunderclap sounds rang throughout the whole field, but not alone, as it was also accompanied by Chen Furong's equally loud and blood-curdling screams. Chen Xiang's complexion was extremely cold and hard. Ever since he saw his father wounded, he swore that he would kill Chen Furong. You are a 9th level of mortal martial realm martial artist, but in my eyes you are nothing but an ant. Enjoy a few things before dying. Chen Xiang ruthlessly roared. Again, he casted the Azure Dragon Roar, followed by the Azure Dragon Claw, a Storm-Killing Fist, a Heavenly Tiger Storm-Killing Fist, and the Fire King Fist. He casted these several martial techniques he had grasped and was proficient in, one after the other, striking Chen Furong ruthlessly. Watching the scene that was occurring in front of them, Hi+ver ran down everybody's spine outside the field. They all had a frightened face. They had an extremely hard time believing that a not yet 17-year-old teenager had such a vibrant true chi, and also defeated a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. No, not defeated, madly battered and completely dominated. Chen Furong was now resembling a mud ball. His whole body, from head to toe, was struck and broken by Chen Xiang's top-grade martial technique. Chen Furong soon died in agony as Chen Xiang removed the storage pouch from Chen Furong's waist and then incinerated the corpse into ashes. Afterwards, Chen Xiang stepped past the Yao family's broken main door. Dead. He just died like this? This child is simply a monster. An old martial artist said. If he had not seen Chen Xiang's strength a moment ago with his very own eyes, he would simply be unable to believe that Chen Furong, a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert, had been brutally bashed into the ground and killed by a teenaged martial artist. Of course, just a moment ago, the strength shown by Qin Xiang was almost unbelievable. Everyone looking at the now tranquil but messy field could hear the sound of fighting that was occurring past the Yao family gate. It was similar to a daydream for them. This was the might of a powerful martial artist. With just a single battle, an entire field which could accommodate tens of thousands of people had become completely messed up. Extremely strong martial artists could definitely possess such an overwhelming force. This was definitely no legend. Qin Xiang arrived inside the Yao family estate. He saw many scattered body parts on the ground. He yelled out, "Dad! I've come to lend you a hand." Qin Xiang had actually arrived. Even those on his side like Qin Tianhu and Qin Haohai could not help but shudder. The fact that Qin Xiang arrived here meant that Qin Furong was no longer a threat. This was only possible if Qin Furong had been defeated by Qin Xiang. All of the Yao family members knew that Qin Xiang and Qin Furong were fighting, but now Qin Xiang had won. In other words, Qin Xiang's strength was comparable, no, even above a 9th level of mortal martial realm expert. Now the Yao family's doom was foregone conclusion and simply inevitable. This is not possible. You cannot defeat someone from 9th level of mortal martial realm. Only someone who is in the 10th level of mortal martial realm could do it so fast. Yao Hong shouted. He was the Yao family patriarch. The current predicament of the Yao family was all because of him. It was his decision to eradicate the Qin family. Qin Xiang jumped several dozen zhang high into the air. An azure light emitted from his palm as he slammed it downwards. Endless true qi surged out from his palm along with the azure light. A huge azure palm that was immense as a mountain appeared in the sky. Moreover, it was pressing down below onto the Yao family. That palm was made purely from the qi aura. It was dozens of zhang wide and covered the entire garden, yet still with such a strong true qi gust. Plussing out from it. With just a glance, everyone there could tell how vigorous Qin Xiang's true qi was. That giant azure palm in the sky fell, as a large number of houses and hundreds of Yao family also fell under its immense pressure. Not only did all the houses under the palm get smashed into pieces, it also resulted in the bones of everyone under it to be cracked, blood gust. Plussing out from their mouth. The strength was so horrifying that everyone's flesh and blood simply flew off, pressed on the ground, turning it into human meat paste. A huge palm imprint was left in the ground. Everyone watching was deeply shocked by this, and many could not help but retch. Some even threw their weapons onto the ground, others emitted terrified shrieks, while many even fled the Yao family courtyard. All of the people running were Yao family members. Qin Tianhu's mouth twitched. He had not expected that in just few months his son would have such frightening power. With just a move, Qin Xiang could kill hundreds of people. Just a moment ago, Qin Xiang had released all of his Azure Dragon True Qi. Releasing such a soul-shaking strike, everyone watched as his complexion turned pale and he started falling from the sky. They all guessed that he must have over-consumed his true qi. Kill all of them. The Chen family members have consumed too much of their true qi. We cannot miss this opportunity. Yao Hong roared, wielding a longsword as he flew up. Just a moment ago, around 300 Chen family members were fighting against thousands of Yao family members. It really was very consuming. Chen Tianhu and the others in the 8th level mortal martial realm were up against many 6th or 7th level of mortal martial realm experts. Moreover, in order to prevent the casualties of their Chen family members, they had to help the injured retreat, increasing their burdens. The fact that they were all alive and standing was nothing short of a miracle. Chen family members, all of you, get behind me! Qin Xiang loudly shouted. All the Chen family elites in the courtyard soon flew behind him. Just from the spectacle before, they were all filled with admiration for Qin Xiang. "Dad, just leave these old men to me, you deal with those other minions," said Qin Xiang as he rushed towards Yao Hong and the other high-level Yao family members. Chen Xiang and the others were originally worried, but when they saw the vigorous and vibrant true qi suddenly surge out from Chen Xiang's body, they all felt relieved. Yet in their hearts they were still shocked. It wasn't clear to them how much true qi Chen Xiang's body actually possessed. White Tiger Divine Fist. Chen Xiang flew above the opposing party and suddenly punched out a thunderous fist. A large amount of golden true qi surged out from his fist, in blink of an eye, cementing into a giant golden fist, tens of zhang wide, which was exuding an extremely large amount of slaughter qi. Just a moment ago, a huge azure palm appeared, and now a huge golden fist. It was also transformed from a frightening qi aura, but was of a more destructive metal attribute true qi. This white tiger true qi also contained an engulfing slaughter qi. The huge golden fist flew, as the qi waves bursting out like a typhoon sweeping away the clouds. A large and thick slice of the earth had been lifted up and was currently flying towards that crowd of Yao family experts. As the golden fist pass set over the ground, it started shaking from the violent true qi undulations, as the earth eventually cracked into numerous deep fissures. This power was absolutely comparable to a falling mountain. Yao Hong, who was watching this thunderous and powerful fist advancing towards them, could not help but be utterly shocked. At this time, every member of the opposing party facing this terrifying blow wanted to run away. But as they moved to do so, they found that the qi waves had intertwined with their bodies, and they were unable to escape. Chapter 62 True Elemental Dan. Chapter 62 True Elemental Dan. The White Tiger Divine Fist shoveled out a deep canyon in the ground, therein covering all of the Yao family's experts. Tyrannical qi aura ravaged their body, and the instant the divine fist struck them, they could clearly feel the muscle and bones in their body exploding. Furthermore, this blow completely dispersed the true qi in their body. All of you, stop. Your Yao family patriarch and elders have been defeated. Chen Xiang's thunderous voice resounded through the entire Yao family courtyard. Every Yao family member, whether they were high or low, clearly heard his declaration. The people outside the courtyard in the field were also surprised. Chen Xiang had only entered a moment ago, but had already defeated the Yao family. Rumor had it that a single powerful martial artist could easily destroy an entire city. Now Chen Xiang had easily defeated all of a family's elite martial artists, including 3/8 level of the mortal martial realm experts. Moreover, they were all defeated by a single blow from Chen Xiang. This proves that the rumors were definitely not false. Yao Hong's and all the Yao family elders' bones were completely crushed. Despite this, they were still not dead, merely in excruciating and gruesome pain. They were all glaring at Chen Xiang with eyes full of hatred. The Yao family patriarch and elders had all been defeated. Other Yao family members did not dare to resist. Their elites had long been defeated. If they tried to resume the battle, it would completely futile and meaningless. Chen Xiang, you just wait for our Yao family seniors to seek revenge. Yao Hong knew he was definitely going to die today, but also knew that the Yao family seniors would not sit idly by. Chen Xiang laughed. That's good, it would better if they come. I'll send them off so you can have a good long talk with them. While speaking, Chen Xiang created a short knife purely from qi aura. Soon, the small dagger was sent flying straight into Yao Gong's head. That qi aura dagger pierced Yao Hong's head, which immediately exploded right after. Yao Hong's head was completely blasted into smithereens. Watching this gruesome spectacle, everyone felt nauseous as fear seeped into their hearts. They worried what they could possibly do to resist if Chen Xiang were to act the same way against them. Once the other members of the Yao family saw such gruesome methods of execution, they all became obedient and surrendered themselves while begging for mercy. At this moment, the Dan aristocratic family, which had stood proudly for eons, had, in such a short period of time, been completely decimated. Moreover, this disaster was something they brought upon themselves. Yet, the part which is the most unbelievable and overshadowed all of this, was not the fact they lost, but the fact that the one responsible for such heavy destruction and damage to the Yao family was from a single person who was not yet even 17 years old. Chen Tianhu and the rest never expected such a final outcome. Xiang Er, you lead the injured to leave first. You are also no doubt tired, leave the aftermath to us. Chen Tianhu shouted loudly. His eyes were majestic as he glanced at the Yao family members. All of them could not help but tremble in response. Chen Xiang nodded his head, and left with hundreds of injured Chen family members, returning to Dan King Hall. He received the dawn he needed to heal himself. He had completely consumed all his Azure Dragon and White Tiger True Qi today. It could be said he had consumed a little less than half of his True Qi, and the other 3 True Qis he had were also nearly empty due to his usage of the universal force. It is the first time he has expended his True Qi to such a degree. Inside Dan King Hall, Chen Luzhong and Dan King Meng Bo had just learned the outcome of the battle. The result had stunned the 2 old men as they repeatedly shook their heads again and again. Even they could not believe that Chen Xiang had such a terrifying strength, not to mention his strong talent in alchemy. This guy, it would be good if he entered a martial arts sect as soon as possible. This place would definitely be unable to withstand his meteoric rise. Chen Luzhong sighed. It was very difficult to find any suitable rivals for Chen Xiang here, but if he were to enter one of those martial arts sects, he would be near the bottom of the pack. This was also why, once a martial artist reached a certain level of strength, they were unwilling to stay in the regular world. Even if they were very powerful there, if they did not move on, their strength would come to a standstill. As long as a martial artist arrived at that step, all of them would want to go further. The Yao family was fully annexed by the Chen family. Every property across the entire southern martial empire that formerly belonged to the Yao family was now owned by the Chen family. Without a doubt, this made them one of the most formidable forces. Also, the Chen family was now the undisputed number 1 Dan family in the southern martial empire. Several days passed as this event spread over the entire southern martial empire. Other families knew that war between the Chen and Yao families was inevitable, but had never expected it to end so soon. Moreover, Chen Xiang's name also became widespread as it was heard again and again due his Astoni's HI+ing performance in this major conflict. Inside the imperial palace, a handsome man with an extremely pale complexion said to a middle-aged man with a majestic air, "Father Emperor, are we really going to forget that Chen Xiang stole our dragon martial technique? And the fact that he seriously injured me?" Song Wu loudly scolded. "What should we do then? Lead troops to try and destroy the Chen family? They have 6 8th-level mortal martial realm experts, as well as Chen Xiang, whose strength is comparable to that of the 10th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Xiang did not actually kill you. That's already quite benevolent. You think you are clever, but those things are only petty tricks." Song Wu was the emperor, but facing the Chen family, even he must concede his prestige. Furthermore, he and the Chen family held no grudges between them. That day at the tournament when he decided to not stay there with the seriously injured Song Nanming was truly a wise decision. Had he stayed with the Yao family that day, perhaps both he and Song Nanming would have been as sacred along with the Yao family. I cannot reconcile with him. Song Nanming grinded his teeth and spat out. During this period of time, he had been beaten until his body was decimated. If not for the aid of the good healing dawn, he simply would not have the slightest chance of recovering. Humph. So what if you cannot reconcile? The Yao family is now history while the Chen family will not do anything to threaten us. They do not care about being the emperor, after all they want to manage the aftermath of their war. You are going to obedient for this period of time. Song Wu coldly said as he left. The Yao family courtyard had become the new Chen family residence. The destroyed entrance and front area from the battle would soon be repaired as all of the Chen family members migrated from Wohu City to reside in King City. The forces who previously had very good relations, HI+PS with the Yao family had quickly abandoned them and showed goodwill towards the Chen family. These days, many people brought gifts to Dan King Hall, all of them being very high in quality. From these gifts, Chen Xiang only picked a few herbs and left the rest for the Chen family. After killing Chen Furong, Chen Xiang found the true elemental Dan in his victim's storage pouch. This was a high-grade spirit-level Dan, extremely rare. Even for Meng Bo, the Dan King of the Southern Martial Empire, it would be extremely difficult to refine this Dan successfully. It has a vast amount of pure true qi. After eating it, the true qi within it can instantly be refined. Indeed, a great Dan. I wonder when I will be able to personally refine it? Chen Xiang looked at the Dan, which had an appearance similar to a transparent shell. At the center, a ball of pure white qi was present. Su Meiyao was appreciatively holding Chen Xiang's flame dragon's brilliant furnace. Bai Yuyu was also looking on from the side. After the flame dragon's brilliant furnace recognized Chen Xiang as its master, Bai Yuyu was no longer afraid of its scorching qi. Su Meiyao said, "Those martial arts sects alchemists can be considered to quite good if they can refine a high-grade spirit-level Dan. That's quite hard, although it did not mean much. After all, only those alchemists who can refine profound grade dawn are considered to be of great importance." Currently, Chen Xiang was only able to refine middle-grade mortal-level dawn and intended to learn how to refine high-grade mortal-level dawn, or possibly even low-grade spirit-level dawn. Only after achieving this objective would he head towards those big martial sections. Two sisters, is it possible for the Yao family seniors who are in those martial arts sects to come back and retaliate against the Chen family? Chen Xiang asked. He was worried that after he left, the Yao family seniors would come for revenge. You do not need to worry about the martial arts sects learning about what happened here. This time, Chen Furong and Zhang Long broke the rules first and acted against the regular world's people. Even if they were killed, no investigation will be launched. Not to mention, the fact is, they were simply nothing in the eyes of the true martial sect. There is no way they would break the rules simply for their death. If they did, the true martial sect would be targeted by all the other sects, explained Su Meiyao. Chapter 63, Alchemy Sufferings. Chapter 63, Alchemy Sufferings. There were many martial arts sects, and they diametrically oppose each other. All of them could not wait for someone to be a little bit in the wrong and grab their weakness. Chen Xiang was somewhat surprised. Like Zhang Long, this young 8th level of the mortal martial realm prac. 1. Tionier was still not of any importance. It was highly likely that there were many powerful martial artists inside those sections. Only martial artists with extraordinary potential and a very promising future could be considered to be of great importance. After things calmed down, Chen Xiang started learning alchemy and growing spirit herbs. He didn't use the true elemental Dan because Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu advised him that it would be most effective to consume it when he encountered a bottleneck. After the Chen family took over the Yao family's Dan businesses, their overall price dropped down. This made many martial prac. 1. Tioniers extremely excited as they eagerly supported the Chen family. Due to this, the Chen family was very popular among the SES, and their action would be a great aid in their future development as a powerhouse. In this world, the law of the jungle is rampant. In just one day, all of the wealth ACCU, mulat over eons by the Yao family now belonged to the Chen family. They had brought this upon themselves. If they had not opposed the Chen family, they would still be prospering. After the annexation of the Yao family, Chen Xiang simply did not have a shortage of spirit herbs he could use for alchemy. He was currently picking some spirit herbs from the former Yao family herbal garden, preparing to refine a high-grade mortal-level Dan. Not only did the difficulty in refining a high-grade mortal-level Dan increase several times over, it also required much more precious spirit herbs. There were not many types of high-grade mortal-level Dan, and even fewer types were widespread and frequently used. These were the most useful for martial practice. 1. Pioneers, but also seldomly refined. These were also the types of Dan alchemists need to master, so obviously when Chen Xiang chose to learn how to refine high-grade mortal-level Dan, he chose one of these to refine. High-grade mortal-level Dans ranking on the tier list of Dan is somewhat awkward. How should I put this? Undoubtedly in the martial arts world, there are many martial practices. 1. Pioneer above 10th level of the mortal martial realm, and they are all quite rich. These people have high requirements, so when they buy pills they would obviously not choose mortal-level pills, but rather buy low-grade spirit-level Dan instead. Moreover, it would be bought in vast quantities. 1. Ties, and after they eat it, it would give them greater benefits, said Su Meiyao. Chen Xiang asked, so in other words, those in martial arts sects at the 8th and 9th level of the mortal martial realm are relatively poor? Su Meiyao answered, of course. So they can only buy mortal-level Dan with their wealth, but you have to know that even the effects of high-grade mortal-level Dan on the 8th and 9th level mortal martial realm martial practice. 1. Pioneers do not have any obvious benefit. So you need to master just the most expensive high-grade mortal-level Dan, which are the cultivating Qi Dan, the grand elemental Dan and the transforming essence Dan, said Su Meiyao. Chen Xiang already knew some of these Dan, and they were indeed among the most expensive mortal-level high-grade Dan. After taking them, their effects were also very evident and helpful. Cultivating Qi Dan mainly elevated someone's true Qi quality so that martial practice. 1. Pioneers could refine their true Qi into a purer form. Grand Elemental Dan was a cultivation-boosting Dan. After consuming it, a large amount of spirit Qi was released, which could be directly refined into a large amount of true Qi without taking into account thin spirit Qi or spiritual veins. Last was the transforming essence Dan. This Dan would directly transform internal true Qi into spiritual power and was mainly used to enlarge the area of divine sense and practice its usage. Chen Xiang had the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace. With this sacred-level dragonic object, one could accelerate the time inside the alchemy furnace and thereby save a lot of time in the refining process of alchemy. It should be known that some Dan take years or even decades for refinement. With the help of the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace, Chen Xiang could drastically shorten the time required. Chen Xiang was going to attempt to refine the Grand Elemental Dan first, because he wanted to take the Dan himself and elevate his own power. Only after entering the 9th level of the mortal martial realm would he enter one of the big sections. There were 3 main ingredients required for refining the Grand Elemental Dan. Although not much, they were all required to be more than 500 years old, in addition to 20 other auxiliary materials, the oldest of these being 100 years old and the youngest being 50 or 60 years old. From this alone, the preciousness of a Grand Elemental Dan could be seen. If they failed to refine it, many alchemists would simply cry in despair. This stone-like fruit is really tricky. Chen Xiang had started refining. Originally, these herbs belonged to the Yao family and there were only 4 sets, each of them being worth more than 100,000 large spirit coins. Although the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace was more suitable for alchemy and the control of temperature was arbitrary, if one did not know about the degree of heating required by each herb, then even divine furnaces were useless. At this time, Chen Xiang separated his divine sense into 20 or so separate parts and controlled the flame, incinerating the 20 different spirit herbs. Moreover, these spirit herbs had to transform into herbal powder at the exact same time, so there needed to not be even the tiniest bit of time difference between them. Meanwhile, Chen Xiang also needed to use all of his brain to refine the various spirit herbs into herbal spirit Qi. The consumption of divine sense would ordinarily have been too much, even for Chen Xiang. But the flame dragon's brilliant furnace allowed him to decrease his consumption of divine sense, so he did not need to resort to using dawn in order to restore his divine sense. Chen Xiang's divine sense perceived a full day pass sing inside the alchemy furnace, but in actuality, only a small moment had passed. This is because the flame dragon's brilliant furnace sped up the pass sage of time inside it, so there was a large time difference between the two. FUC, King S, HI plus T. I'm finished. Chen Xiang was sweating profusely as he watched a clump of colorful mist rising from the flame dragon's brilliant furnace. He could not help but curse. This was already more than 100,000 large spirit coins, which had just suddenly transformed into a puff of colorful smoke. The fact that Chen Xiang didn't cry was already considered resolute. Worthy of the T.I. flame dragon's brilliant furnace, to not even explode after that. Su Meiyao giggled and smiled tenderly. Sister Meiyao, do not irritate me, Chen Xiang muttered. Just a moment ago, he had incinerated the spirit herb called iron element fruit and failed. This was because that iron element fruit wasn't as hard as he had thought. When he had been baking it, nothing was going wrong, so he suddenly increased the heat of the flames. Who could have thought that the iron element fruit would explode in the blink of an eye? The escaping spirit qi from the explosion caused all of the other herbal powders and herbal spirit qi to blend into a chaotic mess. This resulted in a variety of reaction with the end result of an explosion, all of which surged out from the flame dragon's brilliant furnace. I told you that this fruit is very hard to refine. Even I failed a good number of times when I used this gray fruit. Now when I see someone failing in front of me like I once did, of course I'm going to be delighted. Su Meiyao stuck out her rosy fragrant tongue and continued to laugh. Every time Chen Xiang refined dawn, Su Meiyao would come out. Sometimes she would wipe Chen Xiang's sweat, or perhaps gloat. Other times she would encourage him. Occasionally she would also take liberties or tempt Chen Xiang, this innocent teenager. Chen Xiang curled his lips and said, "You can afford the failures, but there is no way for me. There are only 3 sets of ingredients left," he exclaimed after learning that when Su Meiyao was trying to master alchemy, even with her extensive resources, had actually failed several times. "Good brother, you shouldn't be so discouraged. I just remembered the past and missed it very much." Su Meiyao took out a silky handkerchief and sweetly smiled. She then walked towards Chen Xiang and wiped the sweat off his face. Chen Xiang inhaled that refresh HI+ing body fragrance that Su Meiyao emitted. Feeling her tender, beautiful hands occasionally stroking his cheeks made him feel an inexpressible sensation. After a quick break, Chen Xiang continued to refine. The second time he had failed again, at the exact same stage when he was dealing with the iron element fruit. The third time, he managed to successfully resolve the issue with the iron element fruit, but at the last stage of congealing the dan, he could not control the fusion of the various herbal powders and herbal spirit qis, resulting in another small explosion inside the flame dragon's brilliant furnace. Father is really prodigal. In just a 2-hour period, I've evaporated more than 400,000 large spirit coins. Chen Xiang lay down on the ground, feeling extreme heartache as he watched the scattered mist in the private room. Chapter 64, Poisonous Needle. Chapter 64, Poisonous Needle. The more Chen Xiang delved into the mysteries of alchemy and experimented with the higher rank dawn, the more he understood why powerful alchemists were so scarce. This was because most people could not afford to consume spirit herbs. Even Chen Xiang, who was talented in comparison to others and also had the flame dragon's brilliant furnace as support, still continuously failed when trying to refine this high-grade mortal level. Let alone others. Sister Meiyao, give me a kiss, then I'll have some courage again. Failing again and again, I've become fearful, Chen Xiang timidly said, but after he finished saying those words out loud, he laughed foolishly. Su Meiyao spat, "You little rascal, to even try to play me for a fool. It was good that you chose me to joke with. You would not have dared to say such things to senior sister. Otherwise your face will be swollen for at least several days. Chen Xiang mischievously laughed and said, Of course I know, Sister Meiyao, it's not like you are going to be kissing me for the first time. Kissing again is next to nothing. This had occurred when Chen Xiang won the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace. Su Meiyao had, in momentary excitement, kissed Chen Xiang on the cheek. However, she had not expected Chen Xiang to still be thinking about that moment. Nice try. If you mention this again, I am gonna ignore you later. Su Meiyao softly scoffed. Thinking of the day when she kissed Chen Xiang's cheek, her pretty face could not help but feel slightly hot as two intoxicating flushes emerged. This made her even more enchanting and charming. Seeing this, Chen Xiang was stunned. Humph, hurry up and refine the dawn. Su Meiyao's face gradually turned even more red as she stomped her feet. Her voice was seductive yet full of anger. She turned into a white light, and then disappeared into the ring. Chen Xiang was somewhat disappointed, but he knew that in order to get the beauty's heart, he first needed to become strong. He rested a moment before seriously trying to refine the dan again. If he fails this time around, he would have to buy more herbs. More than half an hour said before Chen Xiang's evil laughter resounded in the private room. Ha ha ha! Your father has finally succeeded. In just half a day I learned how to successfully refine a grand elemental dan. Ha! After Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu heard that disgusting laugher, they immediately came out from the ring. Do not ever laugh again in such a nasty way or I'll knock all your teeth out. Bai Yuyu's ice-cold voice resounded. This immediately made the formerly joyous Chen Xiang look as if he had just eaten dog H+T. He quickly stopped laughing and shut his mouth. He was worried that Bai Yuyu would actually knock his teeth out. After Su Meiyao saw this, she giggled. As the flame dragon's brilliant furnace opened, 5 dragon eye-sized white dawn appeared into view, with quite a bit of spirit chi wafting from them. However, each dance costed 80,000 spirit coins. This brat, always hurting other people's pride. I thought that he would at least fail a dozen times, but it seems that only after 2 or 3 failures, he succeeded like always. Su Meiyao, who was very happy in her heart, said while pouting. It was a rather seductive scene to behold. Although Chen Xiang was proud, he still managed to say with a straight face, This is all thanks to Sister Meiyao's guidance and Sister Yuyu's. It's none of my fault? Bai Yuyu interrupted him in the middle. Of course. This has everything to do with Sister Yuyu, because in my heart I'm always thinking how I can help restore both fairy sisters' strength. Chen Xiang grinningly said. Although Bai Yuyu knows that Chen Xiang was just flattering her, she couldn't help but be slightly touched because Chen Xiang said this in consideration of her. In the future, put in a little more effort. When you learn a devil skill from me, I'll start teaching you seriously, said Bai Yuyu. Right after she finished speaking, she quickly returned to the ring. Brat, quickly swallow and refine the dan so that you can enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm a bit earlier. Su Meiyao helped him wipe off a bit of sweat before returning to the ring. However, Chen Xiang did not eat it immediately, but instead took a short break. Afterwards, he called Su Meiyao out and requested to learn the refinement process for both the transforming essence dan and the cultivating qi dan. Seeing such a cyanate Chen Xiang, Su Meiyao gave in and patiently guided him. The transforming essence dan was arguably the hardest to refine among high-grade mortal level dan. The herbs were also the most expensive, so it was also the most expensive dan to refine. This was because it can quickly boost divine sense growth. It was important to know that divine sense was incomparably harder to cultivate than true qi. Also, many powerful exercises need a certain level of divine sense as part of their basic requirements. But even when he was refining the difficult transforming essence dan, Chen Xiang only failed his first attempt before successfully refining it. Additionally, he also produced 6 dawn at once. This made even the two beauties, Bai Yuyu's and Su Meiyao's, pretty faces turn pale. But they were also very excited as they were sure that in the future, Chen Xiang would become an alchemy genius and would definitely reach the apex in alchemy. There were 4 sets of transforming essence dan materials, because Chen Xiang only failed once. He managed to get a total of 18 dawn. In accordance with each dan, the price was 10,000 spirit coins, which in total was 180,000 spirit coins. Each set of herbs only costed 15,000 spirit coins, and he was able to refine 6 dawn with one set. Chen Xiang was definitely blessed with fortune, however. He was not going to make that fortune in the regular world, but rather in the cultivator's world. Brat, you're quite relaxed now, huh? We are waiting for you to successfully refine spirit level dawn. Don't complain to high heavens. Su Meiyao said. She was shocked and happy for Chen Xiang's alchemy talent, but she didn't want him to be overly proud because of this success. Chen Xiang nodded his head in response. In the evening, Chen Xiang ate the dawn and went outside the city to cultivate. He was not only cultivating true qi, but also using various methods to refine his internal and external body. This would not only make his body even more powerful but also allow him to quickly transform true qi into spiritual power, with which he could then cultivate into divine sense. 1 month passed as Chen Xiang became familiar with the refining process of all 3 of the most useful high-grade mortal level dawn. He also tried to refine some of the less famous dawn in order to improve his alchemy technique. Of course, to not become overly reliant, he also used other alchemical furnaces for refining. With only small failures at the start before managing to be successful in refinement with other furnaces, it just took longer. For example, the Grand Elemental Dan only took half an hour to successfully refine in the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace took about a day in an ordinary alchemical furnace. In just 1 month, the Chun family's position in King City had also stabilized. Their Dan business expanded, although the dawn they sold were cheap, the quant. 1. Tai sold were extremely vast, so the Chun family earned a lot of revenue. In the morning, Chen Xiang returned to the Chen family palace from the outside city. After just coming out from the bath, he saw steward Lao Ma anxiously rush. Hi+ing over. Young master, something major has happened. Lao Ma hastily shouted. What happened? Chen Xiang quickly asked. 10 days ago, the patriarch went out to solve some issues but came back poisoned. Right now, several elders along with Meng Lao are using their true qi to suppress the toxin. The patriarch's life is in danger. The instant Lao Ma finished his last sentence, Chen Xiang turned into a blur and left. Chen Xiang's complexion was dignified as he came into the private room. Several elders and Meng Bo were pressing their hands against Chen Tianhu's upper body while administering their true qi to suppress the poison in his body. Chen Tianhu's entire strong and muscular body was pitch black. His face seemed devoid of blood, and there were faint traces of black qi showing that he was poisoned. Nearby, Chen Luzhong's eyebrows twitched as he looked at a very small needle.